My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. It's 8:56 a.m. That's called amplified audible activity. While the sex offender Polyon is being documented as a sex offender while the city hall is engaged in vagina monitoring. Alrighty, so this is the video documentation regarding the bathroom where surveillance is underway right now. And beyond this wall, solid tile, the entity amplifying the sound of the toilet flushing as though it's creating impact through the wall. That's called activity creation, and it is supernatural, it's demonic. All right, where the fake sun is present, that's what's gonna happen. That's not gonna be heard through the walls. And when I enter, that's called crossing path. When I enter into the bathroom, there is no door slam. Silent, soft close, right? Now the door is slamming. That's not the door closure upon. These are very much demons, okay? And moreover, I just want to be clear, this is not going to be heard from the male restroom into the women's restroom. It's heard through the bathroom stall to create activity. And who is doing that? Oh, that would be the sex offenders who are in the adjacent bathroom monitoring my vagina while they're using the door closer with simultaneity to my physical movement. So regardless of how impossible it is, it's pursuant to the demonic pattern of sex offenders who also then, as lesbians, come into the restroom engaging in the pattern of conduct, okay? But this is very much demonic. It was soft closed door closure, soft closed meaning it was silent. The moment that the demon comes in, monitoring, aware of what's being documented, comes into a bathroom stall to engage in surveillance, which is psychotic and perverted. And this is the city council. It's called bathroom monitoring, where you already know the military is flying over the venue. You already know that the entity keeps a fake sun over the venue. You're also aware of the nature of light activity that the demons that come to the bathroom stalls engage in, like stalking with impossible light. And that's the entity that's engaged in that P.O.C. This is relevant to Polyon. Okay, the city council that's maintaining surveillance in the bathroom and doing so while they're monitoring the evidence of them being sex offenders. That's a demon that is engaging in what is stalking in a private space, okay? This is the entity that's maintaining activity while they're in an adjacent stall and coming in pursuant to that. This is multiple shadows on the ground that I have with my hand. So this is indeed stalking, and it's psychotic. This is the entity that's going to be committed because of stalking in bathrooms. And this is, again, the same entity that's maintaining planes and helicopters over the city hall, where there are no airport terminals that would result in commercial planes over the city hall. In the same way that you're not flushing the toilet, causing activity through tile, you're not closing the doors. What sort of line of traffic in and out of the male restroom is occurring at 8:59 in the morning, right? It's P.O.C. It is a P.O.C. And these are sex offenders that are only in the bathroom to monitor me. Okay? So this is the entity that comes into the restroom not to relieve themselves. These are dogs that dress up as humans. They're demons that are engaging in stalking in bathroom stalls. Okay, that's the pattern of conduct. And this is going to be the defunding of terrorism. You're maintaining a surveillance system in the bathroom, and what is supposed to be where the business of the people is underway, you're not keeping a city hall. Okay, that's P.O.C. This is the humiliating and depraved aspect of gang stalking, which is underway by the city of Ontario. And coming into the bathroom where you do not have any privacy, and it is maintained as a means of surveillance and furtherance of murder by the government that's already proven that the venue is a part of the pattern of conduct. And that's the pointing out that P.O.C. So this is the entity that is engaging in coming inside as I'm capturing video, which is no coincidence in that environment, where the fake sun is over me at 12:49 p.m. The day before yesterday, and at 12:49 p.m. in the city of UPLAND, at the two city libraries at the same time. This is the same civic center as the Ovid Library. This is the pattern of conduct. And this is evidence that the city council is engaged in vagina monitoring. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9 a.m. This is a documentation of obsession, of mental illness, of ongoing criminal determination to engage in that even while you are incriminating yourself and everyone else, meaning coming into the bathroom and stalking while they are being documented, okay? That's the pattern of conduct. This is literally evidence regarding what is very real, which is demonic activity, because the door was not making any noises until I am documenting it. the moment, and these are demons that are monitoring, and so the character of the door closure immediately changes as this demon enters in. And you're paying attention to the boots that look like a demon of the Ontario Police Department, very likely. But no, it doesn't matter. Even if it wasn't, the Ontario Police are maintaining surveillance in the bathroom, which is why Mike LORENZ is not keeping a job. That department's being disbanded. They are violent sex offenders stalking throughout the city of Ontario, and as you saw yesterday, even in Upland, California, that's how obsessed the city of Ontario is, keeping my vagina under surveillance. Okay, that's P.O.C. It is currently 9:01 a.m. This is Paul Leon in the Ontario City Council that's being removed from office because of being they're sex offenders, and sexual violence is underway inside of the city hall bathroom. P.O.C. Do you know if there's Wi-Fi in here in the city hall?
Should be Ontario Wi-Fi.
Ontario Wi-Fi? Okay. I probably have to go outside to get that signal. Okay. This right here? That is the soft closure. It maintains control of the door. These are demons, and this is demonic. The moment that the significance of the loud door closure and the entity coming into the women's restroom, replicating it, which is demonic, and was not the case, is because, first of all, I'm documenting it, and second of all, because the sex offenders across were engaging in what is maintaining audible activity with regard to monitoring my vagina. And so they find it necessary to do the same thing in the women's restroom so as to suggest that there's no sexual violence and there's nothing intentional going on. And that does not suggest that whatsoever. It's soft door closures. You're not going to hear the door closing inside of the bathroom stall. It's amplification. But moreover, this is the entity that has the soft door closure. That's why this technology is right here. This mechanism is on top of the door because it controls how it opens and closes. And what is so phenomenal about this is the moment that I notice it, they're monitoring me. So the moment that I notice it, which they were doing while I was in the bathroom stall, indisposed, vagina exposed, okay? Demons that are going to be in the men's restroom, the entity is engaging in sexual violence in a manner that's supposed to seem as though it's coexisting with what they're naturally doing. They're gang stalking you, but they're not gang stalking you. That's the purpose of the system. And there's nothing natural or casual or simultaneously just naturally occurring whatsoever. Not the fake sun, not the engineer light, not the psychopathic pacing in that environment, not the entity's exaggerated volume of noise of everything, and that when you're paying attention to the pattern, your every move and everything that you're doing, including in a bathroom, is being monitored, okay? While you spread your legs apart, while you're relieving yourself, while you make any movements. And then the door that has the soft close technology at the top of it, which you can see, you're looking at that, and then you're hearing the door closure. You are looking and witnessing demonic activity in the same way that you see the fake sun moving over me. This is how supernatural it is while it's in the physical in your face. And that was a demon-possessed person in the bathroom, and that's a state actor coming inside to maintain surveillance. As I walk out, they're crossing path. As I wash my hands, they're crossing path. They're in the engineer light, they're monitoring. And so are the demons that are engaging what is monitoring me with the amplified noise of the door. And to make it seem as though it is something that is not extraordinary, the demons came into the women's restroom. And it is, because that's the amplified noise while the soft closure technology is on the top of it. And like I said, when I walked in, it was absolutely silent. It was very quiet, peaceful. As I start using the bathroom, boom, 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 flushing her through. And then you have this high traffic into the restroom. Everybody that works here. So you came here, everybody had to pee when you came to the bathroom. Everybody had to pee when I go into the bathroom at the city hall when you work here. All right. And then if you're talking about the door opening and closing, that's what the sound is. You've got high frequency, high traffic going into the male restroom, even when it's something that's not naturally occurring. I just want to break that down. Paul Leon is a vagina man under all circumstances. This is the shutdown of the city hall. This is stalking in a bathroom. That is not a mayor. That's a sex offender. And these are sex offenders who are demons. These are dogs hiding in meat suits that are engaging in egregious levels of sexual violence that you have not fathomed before. And it's gang stalking in bathrooms. This is P.O.C. 9:08 a.m. inside of the Ontario City Hall, P.O.C. Alrighty, impossible light activity is on the floor on the inside of the City Hall. It is currently, that's the entity that's suggesting that that's sunlight. And this is, again, sunlight that's underneath the covered structure. And that's the fake sun right there. So that's, again, light that is irreconcilable. I guess it's coming underneath the tent, shooting underneath the covering, and then shooting at an angle. And this is the entity that the fake sun, the moment that I am in there and they're monitoring, the demons maintaining ongoing traffic inside of the male and female restrooms, it's not a cloudy day anymore. Immediately the clouds subside, which is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct. The fake sun is over me at 12:49 in the afternoon at the Ovid Family Community Library. That is 3 hours and 39 minutes from now. It's 9:10 a.m. Yesterday morning, the entity has the fake sun while I'm already in Upland, California. And the entity kept that fake sun over me while I'm inside of the Upland Public Library at 12:49 p.m. This is the entity that is indeed engaged in what was demonic. The door goes from being a quiet, soft closure. Okay, that's why that technology is at the top of that door. The reason why I'm breaking that down is because you are witnessing real life demonic activity. It's as supernatural as the flowers that just began levitating out of the ground. It's just that you're not looking at that, and that is too obvious. That's too obvious for Satan to do in front of you. What you witness with regard to demonic activity is akin to this, the fake sun moving, and the fake sun still being here. You're just not supposed to pay attention. That's very supernatural. And I've pointed that out to everyone. You're witnessing supernatural activity. It's demonic. They're all demons, okay? But not only that, you're witnessing the supernatural while the character of everything that's around takes on whatever's necessary for activity creation. That's speaking to the presence of demons. Okay, so the door that was silently soft closing before suddenly became very loud. And you're talking about not only was it, this is, pay attention to the entity that's already stalking by planes, right? Why do they have to have 13 planes every hour? Like I stated, because they're monitoring. So you didn't have one person that went into the bathroom with the suddenly noisy door from the male restroom that was heard inside of the bathroom stall. You had the door closing over and over again. And as I point that out, not only that, as I notice it and point it out, then the entity begins the noise inside of the women's restroom. So as to suggest, oh no, the males aren't sex offenders. The males aren't doing anything. That's the sound of the door. Nobody is targeting you, and we're not targeting you either while we come in here and the noise is equally occurring while they are rising in traffic. That's the entity that's stalking by planes. It's enough that they're already stalking. They're engaging in what is activity creation while they're monitoring. So I want to break that down. All of that pattern of conduct, when they're flying over the city hall, when the fake sun is over the city hall, they're flying over the senior center, they're flying over these, and they're doing more than just stalking, they're monitoring. And it's entirely demonic, and it's demonic activity that's right in front of your face with regard to that door closure. That's the type of details that you're not paying attention to. That door was a silent closure, and that's also fitting. It's a city hall. You're not having all the doors slamming everywhere, but demons that are monitoring do. In the same way that you're not maintaining what is
inventory, stalking all in the middle of the aisles, blocking customers. But you are when you're gang stalking in a grocery store, and maintaining a means to get inside, get in front of someone, move things out of someone's way while you're gang stalking them in that grocery store. That's the P.O.C. This is where the fake sun is present at 12:49 p.m. This is exactly where it is at 12:49 p.m. as I documented, and this is what was the case yesterday at 12:49 p.m. inside the Upper Public Library. And that's the evidence of exactly what I just documented. What is in the bathroom? Those are demons that are engaging in vagina monitoring. The city hall is being shut down. Paul Leon's not keeping a position. He's a sex offender. Okay? And so is the mop head demon with the light activity. While demons are pacing in and out of a bathroom, just like they're pacing in aircrafts, stalking under the fake sun. And in that bathroom, it is engineered light. That's not the sun. And this is all engineered light. That pattern of conduct is underway in a bathroom, and it is associated with the Ontario City Council. Paul Leon, Alan D. Wapner, all the stalkers that are engaging in this criminal pattern of conduct are engaged in genitalia surveillance. They're sex offenders. Only demons conjure up things that unheard of, that depraved, that perverted. And they do so with minors who are sex offenders, gang stalking, and that entire population shall be subject to martial law. The sun is not what is over me over 3.5 hours from now, which is a matter of video evidence at 12:49 p.m. As I'm leaving the Ontario City Hall, where the entity is maintaining criminal surveillance, where you are looking at the entity targeting in aircraft, where there are no terminals that result in taking off from the airport and hovering over the city hall. Direct damning evidence. Okay, prima facie prosecuting the mayor and the city of Ontario venues like the Ontario Senior Center, funded by the local government that is gang stalking, including while they're in that building, including while they're flying over that building, including while the fake sun is over me in the presence of this building, which is representing the government, just like the city library, Ovid Family Community Library. And they're going to prison for engaging in what are multiple federal offenses, including criminal summoning, while I'm documenting vagina monitoring in the Ontario City Hall. Very, very probative, high probative evidence to prosecute the entire state, not just the vagina monitor, Paul Leon, he's leaving office. He's not leaving office, he's being put out of office. Okay, he's a vagina monitor. He is a demon hiding behind title as pastor. He's not a real pastor. And he's also hiding behind the title mayor. He's an enemy of the United States, and he's an enemy of Christ. And that's why he's holding those two positions as pastor and mayor. Okay, a politician, a leader in the state of California. He is no leader. He's an enemy. And that's also why Satan has him in that position. And that's also why Satan is being removed from that position as I prosecute him in the bathroom stall of the Ontario City Hall. This is P.O.C. This is the co-conspirators of murder. And these are the homosexuals that keep your genitalia under surveillance. They're not the military. And they're being involuntarily committed. There are no passengers on that plane. This is the humiliating and mentally ill pattern of conduct in the prosecution of Amazon Prime. Okay? That's the P.O.C. The fake sun is here rising. This same scene you're capturing at 7 in the morning. The fake sun is here rising. And the fake sun is here setting after 5 p.m. Amazon Prime is gang stalking. Amazon Prime is a sex offender. Paul Leon is gang stalking. Paul Leon is monitoring my vagina in the bathroom of the city hall in concert with all the demons who are dogs dressed up in meat suits. They're demons. This is a demon-possessed population, and this is all the ways in which they're engaged in gang stalking. And the criminal activity is occurring on the inside of the Ontario City Hall in the most egregious manner, not just monitoring you and your devices and violating your privacy, and doing so with the demon-possessed population who are mentally ill, subject to involuntary commitments, including Paul Leon. But they're engaging in surveillance in the bathroom. Surveillance of what you're doing in the toilet, on the toilet, around the toilet. And they are engaging in that by going in and out of that restroom as well. And that is mentally ill, psychotic, perverted behavior. And this is the Ontario City Hall that is being shut down. It will be defunded. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:17 a.m., 12:49 p.m. The fake sun is still here. It is right here, like I documented, and in Upland, California, that is simultaneously prosecuted, while this ongoing impossibility and the coexisting sexual violence that I'm subject to and I documented is underway. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, this is documentation following up. This is supposed to be sunlight. You pay attention to the illusion. Pay attention to positioning by stalkers that are being, in other words, facilitating
domestic terrorism, where you are employed and the city is nothing other than a criminal enterprise maintaining criminal surveillance. Those are the employees of the gang stalking city of Ontario. Amongst what is engineer light, under what be the sun, at the same time at 9:57 a.m. at the Walmart at 1333 North Mountain Avenue, where I still remain 48 hours ago. The entity is maintaining this fake sun in the same position as I reminded you yesterday in Upland, California, where the fake sun is over the top of my head in its zenith at 12:49 p.m. This is the same location where the entity is over me right now at 9:57 a.m. So it's the fake sun is still here over me in its zenith at 12:49 p.m. Yesterday in Upland, California, where I am already present yesterday, 24 hours ago right now at 9:57 at 12:49 p.m. inside of the Upland Public Library at 460 North Euclid Avenue in Upland, California. This fake sun, not the natural environment, but it's indicative of targeting, including targeting like Pollyanna is targeting my vagina in the bathroom of the city hall that shall no longer be in existence. Neither will his position, his placement in that position. The fake sun is over me while the entity has the fake sun over me at Walmart. That's a gang stalker, where the entity is stalking me by helicopter, just like they are routinely. They're doing so routinely in Ontario, California, which is what you're witnessing here while demons engage in surveillance. The demons are, again, unfortunately, and both fortunately for you to witness it, mentally ill. So they provide evidence regarding ongoing confirmation that you are indeed subject to state surveillance in concert with the non-oblivious demon-possessed people of the state who walk around looking around in the sky, nothing's happening. A fake sun that's sitting here 4 hours. 5 hours. The end of the day is the documentation showing while that entity is engaging in that. Walmart at 1333 North Mountain Avenue is not here. And this is not creating my shadow when it's over Walmart, where the U.S. military is on video stalking, and the same demon-possessed city of Ontario engaging in criminal surveillance with the developmentally challenged are engaging in the pattern of conduct. And I want to be clear, developmentally challenged and psychopathic, equally mentally ill demons under the fake sun. They create an illusion regarding mental illness while they are equally mentally ill. Okay, that's what's pacing right here. Okay, not well at all. And also the closeted lesbians who are stalking me in the bathroom, like you saw inside of the Ontario City Hall restroom, where the entity is keeping a fake sun. But this is P.O.C. Walmart is gang stalking, and that's why the fake sun is over me at 9:57 a.m. But yesterday, I go nowhere near Walmart. The fake sun's remaining over me in Upland, California. And today, I don't go to Upland, California yet, and the entity has the fake sun remaining over the Ontario Civic Center. This is the library. This is the senior center. That's the city hall. That's College of Laverne University of Law, where the fake sun is over me from sunrise until sunset. And it's the same thing in Upland. I'm capturing it at 6:58 p.m. This is the P.O.C. All right, and this is going to be the defunding. All of this is going to be defunded. And terrorist leaders like Pollyanna are going to federal prison for what the Ontario Police Department and the U.S. military are doing, stalking me. That's called psychological torture. While then the lesbians that are homosexual predators are stalking in a bathroom, because that's what it's amounted to under the fake sun, where surveillance is underway inside of a city hall. And a mayor is being prosecuted for funding terrorism, for being a domestic terrorist leader, for conspiring murder of an American citizen. That is documenting it. That's the significance of the gang stalkers that are under that fake sun. And you're listening to that because he's getting Pollyanna put in prison. That's the mentally ill, and that's why you don't gang stalk with the mentally ill, because they don't do anything other than incriminate you. That's a demon of the city hall incriminating Pollyanna, pacing all under the fake sun that's at Walmart at the same time. This is how the psychopathic, equally as mentally ill as the developmentally challenged, those are manifestations of demons, a cursed generation. Okay, one is not in any position to be escorting another to the library. That's Anthesis and Opark, who are gang stalking. These are all the ways in which corruption are no longer going to be funded or existing amongst corporate entities. It is the P.O.C. All right, where the demon-possessed are engaged in public corruption, engaging in what is treason under Article 3, Section 3 of the Constitution, that which unintelligent vagina monitors have no idea what they're actually engaging in, but they will understand it, perhaps read about it, where they learn how to read in prison, okay? That's the pattern of conduct. This is the P.O.C. It's currently 10:01 a.m. where the fake sun is still, as a matter of evidence, remaining over me at Walmart. All right, and that's where the entity is engaging in activity creation, honking their horn, activity creation, stalking in the sky space over the city hall, where again, any mayor, including Pollyanna, will be removed from office.
All right, that's the P.O.C. Stalking with light is mentally ill behavior. That's why he's honking his horn. That's why the light activity is there. This is where the fake sun is over me in the middle of the afternoon. Look at the evidence on May 20th, 2026. These are the bums that I described. May 3rd, 2026, C. Gerber is gang stalking in the same manner at this same location. And C. Gerber, this is before daylight savings time, where this fake sun on March 3rd remains right here after 4 and 5 p.m. They are going to prison. This is the African-American ignoramus stalking with the U.S. military. These are the homosexuals that target together, okay? He's got the same demon-possessed spirit on him. This is the entity that's gang stalking as one. And this is what happens when a mayor is an enemy that's engaging in criminal activity. You have the ongoing admission to surveillance. And this is occurring while it is over what is the Walmart. Stalking in the path. Stalking in the path, that's what she's doing. And this is the behavior of the entity that's engaged in that. So I just want to be clear what the entity is engaged in, because he's on video engaged in this impunity. Don't forget what he's already on video doing inside of the Ovid Family Community Library, stalking with impossible light while they make false allegations, engaging in terrorism covertly, no, doing it blatantly. That's called impunity. Here's a fake sign. They're going to prison. And so is Polyon. That's P.O.C. Those are the geniuses that are gang stalking in Ontario, where they make allegations against you that they're actually guilty of, such as vagina monitoring. This is Paul Leon's handiwork. He's a terrorist leader. These are the bums that are under the fake sun that's still here after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They just engaged in gang stalking with the U.S. military on video. And this is what they're doing in defiance to the federal government. That's going to respond to that. Levying war, it results in federal prison. This is P.O.C. This is federal offense. This is funding terrorism. Paul Leon is being prosecuted for it. Giving them vehicles, giving them jobs, giving them uniforms while they're engaging in criminal surveillance. They don't have a purpose. That's why their ignoramus is engaging in it in front of your face. They're ignorant and they engage in murder. They engage in sexual violence. They're nothing other than gang members. Okay, so this is the entity. Paul Leon is the one. He's the one that's going to prison. This is the unintelligent system. Paul Leon's going to prison for this. This is very blatant, very clear. And the entities engage in that while they are humiliated because they are being prosecuted. The homosexuals of the U.S. military, those are not courageous men and women that are representing the country. They're engaging in what is levying war. And I'm showing you the ignoramuses that they are. They're flaming homosexuals who are mentally unwell. They will be subject to involuntary commitments just like the people of the state. That's nothing other than the people of the state that have been given a position, a paycheck, where they're engaged in nothing other than stalking. Paid stalkers. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that has the fake sun over Walmart. This is prosecuting corporate entities. This is prosecuting the people of the state. This is already accomplishing what is the prosecution for treason of that entity, the U.S. military and the city of Ontario, which is representing the state of California. And you're looking at the impunity, the blatant disregard, the hatred even of you that are American citizens, of you that enforce your rights. And that's going to be remembered in court, okay? This is Securitas stalking in the path with light activity. And the fake sun documentation, as I stated, while it's here over me and the same time over me at Walmart, it's remaining simultaneously on the record over at Upland Public Library, over the roof of that library, over me, while a bunch of psychopaths who are equally hostile. And when you catch Satan just engages in that sort of conduct, oh, so what, whatever, I'll just do it in front. I don't care. That's the behavior of Satan, which is psychopathic. It's mental illness that is born of a spirit. Okay, you're going to diagnose with regard to the behavior that's a threat to national security. A population of hostile criminals, terrorists, fill the state of California. While they do so silently, but they are nonetheless doing so. This is animosity, hostility, this is ongoing defiance, and it is a violation of the state and federal constitutions. And no person that is calling themselves a mayor will remain in office. This is the prosecution of Paul Leon, who's being prosecuted by his own minions that he's even providing a paycheck for, and that's what Paul Leon gets. This is the P.O.C. He's a vagina monitor. He's a demon. This is P.O.C. It is 10:59 a.m. So I want to document while I'm publishing right now. I am literally right now on YouTube uploading videos for today, May 22nd, 2026. But as far as, I am uploading. So as far as publishing, I am on April 17th. Okay. Everything is published up to date on my website. This is the POC.wordpress.com, where you will see every video, image, all podcasts is available. And I want to document, in case you're not understanding the significance, the probative value, the weight of the evidence, and everyone who is simultaneously being prosecuted for criminal activity of an egregious nature, okay, at the highest level. It's terrorism, okay? As bad as drug distribution of narcotics is, it's not necessarily terrorism. There are legal theories where you could say if it's happening amongst a mafia cartel within a RICO case, it's gang violence. There's an argument there. This is terrorism. The following is prosecuting the mayor. The entity is stalking by helicopter 10:55 a.m. And you are understanding the homosexual that is stalking in a commercial plane. There is no passengers aboard these planes. There's no passengers on these planes. The people of the state are stalking with the entity that are the homosexuals using Alaska Airlines that's crossing path right now. Excuse me, that's not Alaska Airlines. That appears to be Frontier. It's a blue and white plane. But nonetheless, there's no passengers on these planes. The people of the state are on the grounds, pacing all around. This is evidence which is speaking to not only criminal activity, but mental illness. And that is the significance of gang stalking. And literally the evidence is going to be used for what is this ongoing diagnosis via prosecution for the involuntary commitments that shall result. Paul Leon is being reported to the feds. Paul Leon is being prosecuted. Paul Leon is no mayor. He is a criminal, and he's of a specific type of criminal. He's not, let me put it this way, a drug dealer can still be considered an American citizen, run afoul, obviously, of the law. Nonetheless, an American citizen. Paul Leon is an enemy of the United States, and he's a documented criminal, all right, of a federal nature. He's a terrorist. I am at the Ontario Civic Center. I am looking at the Ontario City Hall that is gang stalking me. The government in Ontario is gang stalking me. Paul Leon and the Ontario City Council, everyone, Deborah Parada, the Alan D. Wapner, the entire Ontario City Council, the demons that are employed collecting a paycheck are sitting inside engaging in gang stalking. And pursuant to that pattern of conduct, as vivid as using the homosexuals that are not a military force. These are stalkers. And demons have been hiding behind noble and impressive terms to hide nothing other than the fact that they're stalkers and that they're murderers and that they're psychotic. So you call a demon-possessed sociopath a veteran. You call a psychopathic sex offender a police officer. And they're engaged in the same pattern of conduct. This is an entity that's engaging what is stalking by helicopter. And in case you are not aware, I am prosecuting every mayor. I am prosecuting every police department. I am prosecuting every sheriff's department. As my documentation shows step by step how a pattern of conduct is underway by all of those aforesaid aspects of the entity. The entity is flying over, moreover, the entity is flying over the government building itself. It does not, this is beyond a prima facie. The case has been spoon-fed to the federal court, the tribunal, the building itself. As you should have learned by now, words have meaning. And at the same time, we are mere mortals who are resorting to mere words. That's the significance and also the insufficiency of words at the same time because of our finite, temporary status as human beings that have a date where we will all be meeting our maker. But we use words in order to communicate, to exchange ideas, to understand each other, no matter what language it is. We're communicating with each other. Even if it's sign language, they have a translation, a means of understanding one another. Okay, this is what we use. The entity is engaging in what is criminal activity, and the terms that are surrounding what are the government venue, where you are engaged in what is already surrounding the controversy of the airport and the criminal and illegitimate activities which are going to be detailed within the walls of the court. Understand that the court, the tribunal itself, yes, there is a physical building erected throughout the country. There are federal courts all over the country. Yes, that is literally the physical court. You are in court right now. This is the courtroom. This is the case that is unfolding. This is exactly what the tribunal, and by the way, they're watching now. It's not going to start at some future date. They are aware of every detail. They are aware of the ways in which I bind Satan in Jesus' name. They are aware of the ways in which the federal government, since we're merely using words, because the U.S., these homosexuals that are demon possessed, that are psychopathic killers and stalkers, are not the military. That is not the government, because words have meaning, right? Police officers are actually engaged in protecting and serving. They're not gang stalking because words have meanings. They actually mean something. A mayor is not sitting in a building where any American citizen in any city, including Ontario, California, underneath the phenomenon which is documented in order to protect that American citizen who was subject to the psychopathic, i.e. mentally ill, criminal pattern of conduct of all those inside of that government building, where they are not reasonably nor actually ignorant about that phenomenon, where the government is engaged in terrorism such as stalking, targeting via helicopters. And they're sitting in the building calling themselves a mayor, calling themselves a city council. Words have meanings. They actually mean something. They're actually significant. You are not a mayor by virtue of the definition, the significance, and the roles. That's why you're acting as though you are. You want to be perceived as one way. You want these actions to be known, but you don't want these actions over there to be known, because that's not mayor-like, right? You would have a problem if, while holding that position, that was known about you, about what's surrounding even your office, about what's even happening at that venue where the mayor's office is literally headquartered. And it is inextricably linked regarding what the so-called mayor is involved in, what the so-called mayor is knowledgeable about, what the so-called mayor is liable for, engaged in, facilitating, funding, responsible for. The entities engaged in stalking pursuant to the same psychopathic pattern of conduct. I'm walking on Euclid Avenue and up in California. The entity is stalking by helicopter. I'm in Ontario, California, all over the city of Ontario, including at the Ontario City Hall, where Paul Leon is a part of what is threatening my life and safety. I can't go run into the Ontario City Hall for safety. I can't go into the Ontario City Hall to get away from terrorism. In fact, as my documentation shows, the terrorists are even running into the bathroom, maintaining that psychotic and sexually violent pattern of conduct, of stalking and furtherance of murdering me, which the city official, Paul Leon, is directly engaged in. He's more than engaged in it. He's facilitating it. He's funding it. He is leading it. This is the significance of what I'm documenting. I am not just documenting a vagina monitor that's at the C Street turn circle after 5 p.m. at this same location, threatening to call the Ontario police for that which is entirely lawful, and for that which, as a matter of principle, is going to happen because the government is the criminal, even speaking through that psychopath. You're going to document a stalker that's trying to kill you in the name of the government, that thinks that you can get away with it. You're going to document that even if the government were to say that that was a crime. They're not even in a position of authority. And as a matter of principle, under, by the way, the so-called founding documents, you have a responsibility and obligation. Now, of course, the government is typically murdering victims that don't even get to this level of understanding what is a constitutional responsibility as the constituents of the state. But you do have an obligation, actually, and the Declaration of Independence under the Constitution, you have an obligation to take into your own hands, not by anarchy, not by violence, not by violating the law, but by enforcing it, and also by exposing where you have what this is. You have a crisis, a public corruption at a crisis level, where every single last person has sold out to the devil at that. But you can leave spirituality out of it for a bit. This is just a constitutional legal argument, which, by the way, Christ is not contrary to that which is legal. The Bible says to render unto Caesar what belongs to him. And the Bible also says to obey the law, paraphrasing, but to obey the laws. Okay, be peaceable with mankind. Obey the laws. Be a law-abiding citizen. This is, and that is up until it's interfering with what is your right and what you're going to do, which is walk with Christ. And so until the day that these demons, the satanic system says, you cannot pray to Christ and you cannot read your Bible, you can't own a Bible, etc. Those sorts of nonsensical, satanic, and unconstitutional, inhumane laws, that's not a law, because words have meaning. That's not a law. Okay, but until something like that is created, you are supposed to be on the right side of the law, especially when you're calling yourself a Christian. All right. But nonetheless, the entities engaging in this, and this is to understand that you are not ignorant. And I am literally prosecuting Paul Leon, who may very well be. He is as guilty as the one that is flying the plane. I don't know that this is, if you're understanding what it is that is being exposed right now, because these homosexual gang stalkers don't get it. Because I think if they did, Paul Leon is mentally ill. He is. But this is a coward, and this is one that is very much needful of maintaining an outward demeanor. And if this mentally ill a psychopath. This psychopath was aware of the fact that he was being exposed while the prosecution was underway on the internet. The course of conduct would have been different. If he was aware that the employees of the city council are going to put him in prison, the course of conduct would have been different. If he was aware that the gang stalking by the Ontario Police Department was putting him in prison, the course of conduct would have been different. If he was aware that it is not helpful for him in a case that he's going to be subject to, he's subject to it now. This is the court. And this is what I mean by, yes, words have meaning. Absolutely. And at the same time, words are insufficient. And this is where you are in the federal courtroom right now. And also at the same time, within the four walls of a tribunal, a federal tribunal, physically speaking. I am bringing you into what is the federal case, the ongoing public investigation by necessity, because the federal government has been trying to kill me for years. And so in order to drag the federal government in front of the whole world, this is forcing the federal government to do that which it was supposed to do at the outset. And I am obligated, and I'm also empowered to do that under the laws as they exist right now. Everything that the government has done, including if I would have stolen a candy bar, is going to put those actors in prison. Because the federal government also knows the authority that they don't have under the law that they've been abusing. So, okay, she might have stolen a candy bar. We'll deal with that side issue there. But actually, in real life, you're not going to even prosecute that if you were dealing with a target individual that was imperfect, okay? Because the government remains the bad guy and a horrific monster. Okay. And you don't have authority when you are stalking and conspiring murder and then stating, okay, well, we have authority under the law to do this while we're still engaging in that. They're delusional. And these are the homosexuals that are stalking me at the Ontario City Hall. Okay. Paul Leon is going to prison. This is the entity that's engaged in that. And they are stalking at 11:55 a.m. At 10:55 a.m. by helicopter, pursuant to the very heavily documented pattern of conduct. It's so heavily documented that you already know that I'm telling the truth. Literally, the feds know that I'm telling the truth because they're watching this investigation unfold. But you already know that I'm telling the truth. And I'm advocating on behalf of the ordinary target individual who will never, ever again be falsely depicted as mentally ill, who will never be unnecessarily fear-stricken, because once they utter the psychotic things that they're subject to, that they're scared that people are going to look at them like they're crazy, like they're imagining it, like there's something wrong with them, or that they have to question their own sanity, and that no one is going to believe them, which exacerbates the harm that they're already subject to. It makes it worse, which is exactly what Satan intends to do. That's exactly the purpose of why the demons are doing what they do in the way that they do it. Now, when they are coming against, foolishly, someone that showed them signs, large, blinking, neon signs, you ought to stop now. This is not going to end well for you. Now you're able to see who's mentally ill. Now you're able to see who the criminal is. Now you are able to see who hates you and this country that we are in the United States of America. And you can see it very clearly. People in Bosnia can see it. Okay? The entities engaging in this pattern of conduct, and they have been engaging in that under what is a false pretense regarding everyone and everything. And that is a matter of what Satan, a deceptive spirit, all right, that is using illusions to divide you, to distract you, to condition you. You're preconditioned to think a certain way, and that's why you're going to assume certain things. while you're consuming social media and being told that you need to get a BBL and that you need to be dating these type of people and that you need to be having sex with at least 4 different people in order to be considered as popping out here, whatever popping is for you. But that's what you're consuming when someone is talking about they're being gang stalked, is the term that the ordinary target individual would use. And that's why I speak in those terms, gang stalking. But it is it's federal group stalking and monitoring. It's group stalking, state organized stalking. It is criminal surveillance by a public entity. And it is occurring because that public entity has already decided they're going to kill you. And before they kill you, they engage in an unabated program of psychologically torturing you, which is demonic. And as they engage in psychological torture, they are exposing how mentally ill they are, which is the evidence that is in turn going to be used to have people like Paulian involuntarily committed. That's exactly how my evidence works. That's exactly what the evidence proves. I don't have to have Paulian on video running around in circles under the fake sun with light sparking all over the place and then laying out and starting to bark like a dog and eating his own feces on his fingertips like you see these demons behaving in that manner. All right. I don't have to have him on video doing that. I have the entity gang stalking me in the name of the city of Ontario. And no leader under any circumstances, first of all, you're incompetent. You are beyond derelict. And you are actually not ignorant about this pattern of conduct. That is supernatural. And that is occurring on a ceaseless basis at all places and at all times. And it is unreasonable to contend that. And my evidence supersedes what anyone would state in court that they didn't know. And also, as you understand the legal theory, the way in which you prosecute, it is irrelevant, your knowledge. You're going to be prosecuted essentially on a strict liability basis because of what is competing. The life of an American citizen versus you sitting in your office with the fake sun over your office while a whole entity is gang stalking someone while you're inside of your office and you have claimed for 7 years you never knew and you don't know and you've never seen that person. You're going to be prosecuted by virtue of engagement in that pattern of conduct because it's your office, because you're there, you're systematically there, and you are engaging in the pattern of conduct by virtue of your presence, the maintenance of that business, the communication devices, technology, and your involvement, which is not premised upon or limited or ceasing because of your acknowledgement as to knowledge or absence of knowledge. It's not based on that. And you're going to be prosecuted. You will be prosecuted. You will be prosecuted in the middle of the desert with no building whatsoever, where you are documented in the path, in the specific environment with the U.S. military. You could sit on a toilet in an empty room and I will prosecute you. It is not premised upon you admitting what you know. You don't have to say anything based on the genius of these feces consumers that gang stalk in silence. I will prosecute you wherever it is that you think. I'll prosecute you at your home. I'll prosecute you at your friend's house. I'll prosecute you at your mama's house. I'll prosecute you at church. This is the entity that's engaging in that, and I'm prosecuting Paulian inside of the city hall. He's going to prison. This is the entity that's engaging in that level of criminal conduct that is prosecuting all of them. This is a massive return to sender, backfire, judgment, as you would refer to that. Because the evidence works against the enemy, who is also the enemy of the United States. Lawlessness. While they necessarily have to show it, because they can't gang stalk you in secret. They're monitoring you in plain view, but once you know what's going on, they have to do it right in front of your face. And it will not be based on whether you acknowledge the targeted individual, or your facial expression, or how long you lived there, or when you moved, or whether you've ever had a conversation, or how much you say that you love them on the stand in court. The entity is being prosecuted with regard to what is proving that a supernatural, i.e. highly malicious government system of surveillance is underway internationally, and an American citizen's life is under threat. You are being prosecuted. Moreover, they did more than that. They did, while in the course of documenting it, provided you evidence of stalking in helicopters, stalking in planes, such as Exhibit A. And it's 11:19. There are no planes that are taking off from the airport right now. And no plane to a destination is going to create that noise level. They're certainly not headed to a destination doing cartwheels. And Paulian is being federally prosecuted while the U.S. military, while the Ontario International Airport is maintaining criminal activity over that venue. He is being prosecuted. It is criminal for the entity to engage in what is using or involving you in any way. You, your property, anything that is associated with you, and you will be criminally prosecuted for it. period. That's the end of that statement. That is the legal basis. And you do not even have a defense. This is how domestic terrorism is executed by the government. It's the government's pattern of conduct. And that's why you should contend with your government that's gang stalking with you when you thought that it was cute and funny and cool. Now you're finding out you are liable. You are civilly and criminally liable. And you do not maintain any right to contend that you should not be liable. Absolutely, you should be liable. And I've also done the evidence to prove and surround you with evidence, and you shall be liable. You can get as many lawyers as you want, and they better be careful because I'm going to prosecute them. They better be careful, but you get as many attorneys as you want. Please do. Please do. You don't have a constitutional argument. The government unfortunately planned to murder an American citizen, and then they went about proving and providing a tutorial as to how they engage in torturing and stalking and, in fact, targeting. You, people of the state, do not have an argument. Nor should you. Nor should you. They've shown the years of impunity. I'm documenting it even this morning. You think that you have an argument when the utility workers of the city are honking their horns while staring and laughing, and then Southwest Airlines flies over that vehicle while you're turning on the vehicle lights and the fake sun is sitting, and you think that while they're laughing about that and I'm telling them that their boss, Paul Leon, is going to prison, you think that you have an argument with that because you're in Redlands at a property management company where I was gang stalked and that you weren't there, and that's your basis of a defense? Because that's not what the system that the government is maintaining is probative of. It is a pattern of conduct showing what is an entity, which you are. You are not an individual. While the fake sun is over me everywhere that I go. You are not an individual. While the U.S. military is stalking me everywhere that I go, surrounded by that environment. You are not an individual, while the entity is engaging in what is waging allegations as a population that is also engaged in what is targeting. You are not an individual, while the entity is maintaining that ongoing, seemingly simultaneous yet ignorant pattern of being present while the U.S. military, while the city, local government, the gang stalkers themselves are engaging in the criminal elements of monitoring. You are not an individual. You are the entity. I will prosecute you in Redlands, California. I'll prosecute you in Colton, California. I'll prosecute you in Los Angeles, California, LA County, San Bernardino County. I'll prosecute you in Rialto, California. I'll prosecute you in San Bernardino, California. I will prosecute you in San Diego, in Sacramento, in Oakland, California, in Modesto, in San Luis Obispo. I will prosecute the entire state of California. You are not an individual. And by the way, that is forfeited legally under the law when you first engage in monitoring, targeting, which this entity has been proven to as a matter of evidence, and in the specific environment where all of these nincompoops are in the environment and ignorant about it. And it is significant regarding surveillance. You're not an individual. And you're all prosecuted, including Paul Leon. And I just want to be clear, as you hear this plane activity, Paul Leon is going to prison, and he's put himself there. This is P.O.C. It's 11:23 a.m. The fake sun is at Upland Public Library. Yesterday, at least. The fake sun is still here, while the entity is, if you'll recall, threatening to call the police. The police with whom the people of the state are gang stalking right now, crossing paths, studying the device under the fake sun while Southwest Airlines is crossing path, doing so as not an individual. That's the entity engaging in the same identical pattern. Stalking at the C Street turn circle where they are crossing path. Doing so on Euclid Avenue. They're all under a fake sun that has not progressed beyond Euclid Avenue. But when I'm at Stater Brothers, right now, during the 12 p.m. hour, the fake sun is already on what is the west side of Euclid Avenue. You are not an individual. You don't have an argument in Redlands, California. It doesn't matter that I never spoke to you. The targeted individual doesn't have to. You are the entity that thought you had a foolproof, solid, even an intelligent system of surveillance. And actually, it's asinine. And it is glaring ignorance that serves for a very precise, even a scientifically accurate means of prosecuting when a government is targeting an American citizen who is under surveillance. You don't have a defense because surveillance is underway by the government, and the government is monitoring through you. And unless you are engaging in what is reporting it to the feds, reporting that surveillance is underway and reporting names, and you're being prosecuted. And no demon did that. Nobody did that. None of them. because you're all engaging in that, and you're not individuals. And the corporate entities are also persons under the law, and they're not individual persons under the law. They represent the entity. So while Amazon Prime thinks that it's prudent to gang stalk, guess what? The entire population is being prosecuted. That's how genius they are. All right? While the entity engages in what is stalking, as I'm documenting like now, you are not an individual under the law. While the U.S. military, these homosexuals that are engaging in predatory and psychotic criminal conduct, they are not anything other than stalkers while they're engaging in what is the evidence of levying war against an American citizen, and an American citizen that is prosecuting them in turn. They will be prosecuted for treason, okay? You have the same pattern of conduct. While you hear that plain activity, another demon stalking in the path under the same fake sun. This one thinks he's genius, staring at a piece of paper instead of his phone, which is in his pocket. That's the pattern of conduct under the fake sun. That is still here while their co-defendant after 5 p.m. is threatening to call the police at the same exact Ontario Civic Center. They are a corporate entity engaging in what is a pattern of conduct while Amazon Prime presents evidence against the people of the state that they are engaged in a pattern of conduct. And Amazon Prime does so using planes and vehicles and stalking with light while they're stalking on the roads and the highways. The people of the state don't have a defense under the Constitution. So in other words, anything that you say in court will be, is that it? Okay, that's, and you will be summarily convicted. There's no other way to put it. This is the prosecution that has been witnessed and even prolonged by you because you thought that I was really going to drop dead. You really don't understand. You don't have a defense here. And you're being prosecuted for more than just gang stalking. You all like to engage in vagina monitoring. You like to engage in what is watching the subject on the dark web. You like to engage in what is even making money off of that while you practice Satanism. You like to engage in what is having sex with each other, which is why you've contracted incurable STDs, which is why, amongst other things, but I'll digress from that. But this is the entity that's engaging in sex trafficking upon gang stalking. Those of you who made money off of my genitalia, I hope you know you're going to prison. You don't have a defense talking about you didn't know that they were being targeted. You're going to prison. Surveillance is underway on the internet, and that is also proven. So you are not reasonably ignorant. You're not actually ignorant, and you're not ignorant, period. You're going to prison. You are conspiring with an American citizen, you're conspiring against an American citizen with the government that's providing evidence against you. While I'm in California, and yet my nude body is on the internet in some foreign country where you are making money off of it. And I also happen to be subject to what is a conspiracy where a whole bunch of people are trying to kill me and frame me for criminal activity that I have not and would never commit. And if you really think that you are going to be found innocent or not liable, you're delusional as these homosexuals that want to be mistaken for veterans and military men and women that are upright heroes, that they couldn't be farther from it. They're smelly, pungent, infected genitalia monitors. Okay, they're walking infections. They are the mentally ill of the worst kind, psychopathic disorders. They know exactly the impropriety of what they do. They know that it's undesired. They even know that it's illegal. That's why you have gang stalking military, gang stalking police departments, gang stalking mayors, gang stalking government bodies, in other words. They're very much aware of the illegality. And they also want to present one way while they are entirely another way. While they engage in the most unfathomable acts and they derive pleasure from it. In case you did not know, psychopathic disorders, that's derived from a spirit. That's demon possession. That is the character, the personality of Satan. That's what's capable of engaging in what is serial killings, murdering people, murdering children, having sex with children, violating them over and over again and watching them suffer, training them up to become accustomed to suffering, training them that that's the way that they are supposed to exist. This is psychopathic conduct. That's what's gang stalking. That's what's calling itself a mayor. That's what's giving birth to babies and gang stalking me in the library. That's what's working inside of the library of Ovid, while the entity is forgetting that everybody working in the library is going to prison while they're providing evidence in real time of stalking, which Paul Leon's own gang stalking employees present evidence against him. They're going to prison inside of the Ovid Family Community Library. They're going to prison inside of the Ontario City Hall. That's the P.O.C. and that's the significance of the evidence, okay? The entity has the fake sun over me. It's 11:29 a.m. and the entity is gang stalking license 1567279. is approaching, and it's the same P.O.C. Doing so with Southwest Airlines is what I documented earlier, and looking stupid in the middle of the camera, which is a perfect type of booking photo. You'll be aware there will be no secrets regarding who's being involuntarily committed, about who's being deported, about who's being prosecuted and put in prison, because it's a matter of what is levying war in the U.S. and domestic terrorism is being openly prosecuted. There is no privacy. There is no secrecy. You don't get to resign out of office as a gang stalking mayor. None of that. All right, because it's a matter of what is a threat to national security, and American citizens are going to maintain the right to, just like you would with any other court case, but the courts maintain a right to, okay, well, this is private, and we're not going to permit this. No, this is a matter of what is waging war against an American citizen is waging war against the United States, and you're going to respond to that, and it will be public information regarding those that engage in that, and it includes the state of California. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, so the fake sun is over. At 11:30 a.m., you're going to pay attention to demons that are exceptionally focused on me. They're also focused on my vagina, and they're doing so under the fake sun that's still here, while the same City of Ontario employees are documented at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, where they are engaging in criminal monitoring. Okay, the entity's engaging in that while they are engaged in sexual violence in bathrooms, and this is what Paul Leon is funding. All right, that is built into what is the budgeting of the City of Ontario that's engaged in criminal activity, criminal surveillance and furtherance of murder. And that's the P.O.C. It is currently 11:31 a.m. at the Ontario Ovid Family Community Library. This is P.O.C. And this is the entity that is also, not only are they prosecuted, but these are demons that are humiliated. So you are also witnessing the behavior of mentally ill people that have been shown to be everything except for what what demons have been telling them that they are, that they're so capable, they're so powerful, they're so amazing, they're so elite, they're so sophisticated, they're so magical. No, they're so psychotic that they engaged in it in front of the whole world. And that is the P.O.C. providing evidence to the whole world about the terrorist that is the United States of America. And it doesn't make me happy to report that, but that's the reality. And the average terrorist in America is an illiterate one. Is one that is merely entrenched in sexual perversion, is one that is very much a coward. That's the average gang stalker. That's the average terrorist in the United States that is engaging in the demonic pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring. Okay, and that includes Paul Leon. And it is not a matter of how educated they are. This is an entity. This is the United States of America tried to pull the wool over your eyes through what is NASA. Those are a bunch of clowns. Talking about the sun that the demons, the vagina monitors in Ontario, California, are remaining under all day long. It's directly contending with what NASA has represented internationally. Trying to pull the wool over your eyes, those are clowns. Okay, it is not a matter of how highly educated they are. It's a matter of how depraved they are based on the spirit of Satan that controls them. Okay, Satan makes imbeciles. Doesn't matter how many years of schooling that they're in, you bring any of them around and I will prosecute them, and I will embarrass them upon prosecuting them and showing them to be the fools that they are. This is the P.O.C. All right, the fake sign is over, and this is relevant to what is Paul Leon's impunity, while the entity, he's a demon. So they together, you're not dealing with an individual, number one, under the law. It's literally the entity because of the pattern of conduct of the U.S. military, but you're also literally dealing with a demonic entity. That spirit occupies all of them at the same time. When you're talking to one, you're talking to all of them. Okay, you're talking to a spirit. So this is shared knowledge. Paul Leon, this is an entity, and he's literally in front at the Ontario City Hall is right here. The entity is under the fake sun and deciding to engage in monitoring. They're walking into Page One Cafe. I'm here at 6 and 7 in the morning where the fake sun is rising. It's over me at 11 o'clock. It's 11:33 a.m. I have finished walking to Upland, California by this time before, and the fake sun remaining over me north on San Antonio, where I'm documenting the people of the state who are going to be federally prosecuted in Upland throughout the entire city that's engaging in that P.O.C. These are demons that are engaging in monitoring, and they are doing so in a manner that is always exposing and prosecuting them. Okay, these are the mentally ill, and the mentally ill that are fear-stricken engage in more acts that threaten national security. That's all you're getting when the entity places its utility vehicle in the same place that it is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with regard to criminal activity, which is light activity pursuant to federal stalking under Title 18, 22618 subsections 1 and 2. The chubby African-American male, this is impunity, that's federal prison. You have the buddies that are gang stalking with him. These are the municipality workers. They're subject to federal prison. They're monitoring, and they're doing so with impunity. And they're doing so right here at 10:55 a.m. where I'm documenting the entity is stalking by helicopter. That's also criminal activity of Paul Leon, okay? That's the pattern of conduct. This is the entity that are filled with imbeciles. They resort to the most terrorizing thing that they can think of is stalking by helicopter. Every time I embarrass them and upload another video, upload another picture, and they're engaging in that criminal activity because they are, in fact, a bunch of vagina monitoring stalkers, okay? And those that are working in Ontario, they're going to prison. Oh, it's not just going to be Paul Leon, but the municipality workers themselves are going to prison. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, these are lowlifes. These are bums that are literally they're bums. They're engaging in the pattern of conduct, and I just want you to see the fake sun. This is the evidence that you're going to use against them, and it's not just the city of Ontario, like I stated. It is the evidence against the state of California. This is the entity that's watching the show. The show is the federal imprisonment of the sex offenders who are the city of Ontario. P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the entity that's engaging in what is kidnapping. June 16, 2022. That's going to be funny too when they're going to prison for it. All right, they're working their work shift, and the fake sun's in the same position after 5 p.m. and they're going to be involuntarily committed for stalking and in the deranged way, such as under a fake sun, and the entities engage in that. This is what Satan does when Satan has no intelligent response, when Satan is in fact exposed as those that are, and Satan is a spirit, the spirit of mental illness. Okay, there has not been one joke popped and you have what is laughing hysterically. That's what the psychopath Tracy Banks does when she's embarrassed. That's what psychopaths do when they don't have an intelligent response. That's supposed to be a distraction, and it's not. It is the evidence of mental instability. While you are engaging in what is gang stalking and furtherance of murder, while the U.S. military is stalking by helicopter and planes, and you resort to hysterical laughter, this is the evidence of mental instability, okay? The African American and in particular, and these are also employees of Ovid that are subject to prison. I just want to be clear. They're at the Page One Cafe Inn where the fake sun is, as a matter of video, at 2 p.m. at the same location. They're engaged in gang stalking, and they're doing so by laughing. This is Satan, okay? There's no other way for them to feel comfortable gang stalking. So you're psychologically breaking down what is criminal conduct, and it is pathetic. That's the bottom line. It's pathetic, all right? But this is all serving to prosecute Paul Leon, and that's what I stated. Paul Leon's engaged in criminal conduct. Paul Leon is always convicted with regard to the criminal activity of those that are targeting in the city. They get paid their $17, $18 an hour while they're gang stalking under what is Paul Leon's corrupt leadership. And they're doing so while they're obsessing over me. This is laughter while you are obsessively stalking. This is laughter while you are seeking to distract away from the fact that you are obsessed. And their obsessed is born of demon possession. The sun that's sitting over me in Upland is speaking to the obsession of those that are stalking, and laughter is supposed to deflect away from that, and it's not. So this is all of the evidence is going to be used for commitments. It's going to be used for damages. It's going to be used for prison time, okay? The Senior Center, College of Laverne, University of Law is not remaining as a law school. You have the entity that's maintaining the city library. That's a criminal surveillance is underway. And that's how I'm documenting them in Upland, California, where these demons that are very fearful make up information. And it's not funny when they're doing that. They're not laughing. That's why they're scared to death, making up things that are not true. And they're going to prison for that. That's not an exaggeration. The employees are going to federal prison while they're stalking with this impunity right now. And that's on the record, the plethora of times they're engaging in committing criminal summoning with the stalkers that are stalking in helicopters, okay? This is P.O.C. It is currently 11:38 a.m. and the entity has the fake sun over me here, and this is where the entity has the fake sun after 5 p.m. and the people of the state are stalking, and they're claiming that they're going, this is where I was located, where 9DLP603, that's her license plate. This is a psychopath who's engaged in what is, while I'm in use of my phone like I am now, and you're going to call the police with whom the entity is stalking now, and at 5 p.m. under the same fake sun, they're stalking then. That's the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct, okay? That's what's relevant regarding prosecuting under the specific environment where they are not individuals whatsoever, and that's how they'll be treated under the law. This is the entity that's engaged in that together as one with those that are also under the age of majority. Is there something I can help you with?
No, I'm just very interested in what
This is a gang stalker. This is the P.O.C. Anyway, the entities engaging in that P.O.C. while they are monitoring together as one. And I just want to be clear, I've documented him plenty of times. This is the employee, the so-called IT tech, him, and I believe his name is Alan. They're going to prison, okay? This is P.O.C. It's currently 11:39 a.m. under the fake sun that rises and sets here. And this is psychopathic pacing. This is all psychopathic pacing that they have, and they're doing so under the fake sun that is right here. Alrighty? This is the entity that is focused on you, And this is the psychopathic failure of any sort of diversion from that. When you're engaging in that pattern of conduct, they're focused on, and they're also very intimidated. That's why the entity stalks by helicopter. And they're engaging with, I just want to get that. This is P.O.C. This is the P.O.C. I just want to show you. Oh, looks like the door is locked. Well, let me get you. There you go. That's the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct while they are focused on me. That's why the environment is here. And the mentally ill resort to those sort of unpersuasive issues. And then speaking to what are very severe psychological issues. Very, very psychological issues. That's the entity that's going to be prosecuted. The entity that's engaging with is lying to your face, lying about, oh, the restaurant is closed. That deceptive behavior while they're gang stalking and further into murder and trying to act like it's not happening. That's what's behind hysterical laughter. This is all used to have the entity committed. Okay, they're all gang stalking. That's all that's about. I want to make sure that that's understood, because the African American, these gang stalkers of the city of Ontario, are not only serving to prosecute Pollyann, but they are serving to be committed themselves. This is what an entity is doing to American citizens that do not have the evidence about what they're subject to, and it's so psychotic that you don't even understand it necessarily. So what words do you apply with regard to a fake son other than me giving you the images, the video, the evidence of it in HD? Other than that, how do you even show that someone like the employees of the city of Ontario who are gang stalking, and they do so to make themselves comfortable, they just begin laughing hysterically about nothing that's funny? They're there stalking me. It's all about me. And so how do you do that? We'll just start laughing and talking to each other and not addressing her. That's psychotic. They are monitoring my vagina. They are under a whole fake sun, and the boss, the terrorist leader, is in the office of what is the city hall, who is sharing in that impunity. And you know why he would endanger his own liberty like that? Because he is, in fact, mentally ill. He's a demon. He's not even a real pastor, not let alone a real mayor. Okay, that's the P.O.C. I just want to break that down for you, because it is always working against all of them. And they're coming through Page One Cafe that is closed today. Page One Cafe is not even open. They're going out of their way and unlocking it in order to engage in stalking in the path, just like demons do, obsessing while trying to outwardly conduct themselves as though it's not about me. And how are they doing that? Because they're laughing. And there's nothing, even if you're laughing at me, there's nothing funny about what I'm saying. And I certainly don't sound like a fool. Everything that I'm saying is making sense, and you are all following and you're all watching how Satan is being prosecuted. Moreover, there's nothing funny while you are under the fake sun. You are aware that that's an act. They're monitoring. That's why the fake sun is there. You're looking at psychopathic behavior. Page One Cafe, like I said, is closed on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They're going in and out of the rear entrance because they merely have access to do so. They're gang stalking. They're gang stalking. They're standing out in front of it, coking and joking, knee slapping laughter. They're monitoring. And those are the demons that are going to prison. You know why they're doing that? Because they are actually fearful. This is all to let you know about the ways in which Satan is pathetic. Satan is a spirit. Satan uses people. Satan is gang stalking through the state of California, and the entire state is going to be subject to martial law. The entire state. The entities engaged in this, there is no sane person that is gang stalking. It's mutually exclusive. You are not sane while you're gang stalking. And prosecution for criminal monitoring, which is what this is going to include in that prosecution what is a mandatory means of assessing the mind state, which is already put at question by virtue of your pattern of conduct. And that's even when you are in Redlands and I have not met you and you are working at a property management company where I was subject to gang stalking. I don't have to talk to you, and I do not have to meet you. That is not how this works when you are engaging in criminal monitoring, which the city of Redlands is with the U.S. military. And the city of Ontario is prosecuting you while they are in relevant position to me now. This is why you do not gang stalk with the government, ever, in any corner of the United States. Moreover, they are engaging in what is demonstrating how the entity that is gang stalking is severely mentally unstable. Okay? There's no joke that they're actually focused on. It's audible activity and relevant positioning. That's why the fake sun is there. The fake sun is showing how they're focused on me. You're obsessed with me. You're staring at something next to me because you're stalking. So I'm just going to focus on this over here while I'm actually stalking. That's the linebacker. Okay? Like, that's the linebacker that's playing football but keeping their back to you, but they are chasing you, absolutely chasing you, while you, as though you have the ball. You're the target. That's why the fake sun is there. What is he laughing? What are they? They're not laughing about anything. They're going out of their way to go into the entrance of Page One Cafe that is closed today. And they're just chilling outside of that closed, locked entrance because they're stalking me. But you even know that based on science, because that's not the sun. It's not the sun. It's P.O.C. And Pollyann is being federally prosecuted. And gang stalking through the municipality employees is not helping him. He is going to prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 11:44 a.m. The entity, as a matter of evidence, has the fake sent over me at 12:49 p.m. Right? I reminded you of that inside of the Upland Public Library that has the same pattern of conduct where there is also nothing funny. They're not reading. They're not actually focused on their job. They're not doing anything other than gang stalking. And the entity in the United States is maintaining surveillance through schools, through neighborhoods, through government venues such as the Ontario Civic Center, through the Upland Civic Center, where the City Hall is engaged in surveillance. The library, the City Library is engaged in surveillance. That's why the venue is there, showing you the whole purpose of these vagina monitors that are driving around in vehicles paid for by the city, uniforms paid for by the city, when all they're doing is stalking, and they're not even good at it. And when they're caught, they just start laughing hysterically. This is the same evidence that's going to be flipped to have them committed. And the homosexuals that are stalking in planes and helicopters, they are going to be subject to commitments as well. They're being prosecuted. This is treasonous conduct that's occurring with those that are even outside of the U.S. All right, so you have such high crime with regard to such low IQs. Anybody and everyone, including their demon-possessed children, are gang stalking. And it is necessitating martial law. This is P.O.C. I just wanted to make sure that that was understood and appreciated. When you are documenting the pattern of conduct as I am prosecuting every mayor. I am prosecuting every police department, like I stated. And it is literally evidence that is putting them in prison. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct. It's 11:45 a.m. under the fake sun. The entity is maintaining surveillance, doing so while feigning fandom. Oh, I'm taking notes. I'm so interested in what it is that you're talking about. Whatever the purpose is, it's criminal presence in the path. You have those that'll engage in what is name calling, harassing, you're stalking while you're talking about you're calling the Ontario Police Department when there's nothing. That's a psychopath. But it's audible activity. Don't be distracted by Satan. It's audible activity. I'm going to call the police. I'm pull out my communication device. They know exactly what happened the last time the police came out. They're all documented. You're all going to prison. And anything that the entity does, they forgot about the kidnapping in 2021. But it's on the front page of my YouTube channel, and those same demons are going to prison. Any and everything that they're doing is going to be used against them. They're not getting away with anything. While they're uttering that, these are cowards that know that, and they don't have anything. They start laughing. They start making veiled threats, but those veiled threats are putting you away. It's all going back to them. That's the P.O.C. They are imbeciles under a fake sun. And the imbeciles make up organizations like NASA, who are perpetuating an illusion around the world. That's P.O.C. Alrighty, the entity entering into Page One Cafe with regard to gang stalking. All right, Page One Cafe is a means of crossing my path. Doing so while they are stalking, which is a city-wide effort. And what the city of Ontario is doing, which has been a template. The city of Ontario is the most idiotic enterprise that failed abysmally. And I want to be clear, unfortunately, I'm in the United States as well, but the entity has made itself vulnerable with regard to its enemies abroad, while all of the secrets of this country are exposed by gang stalking me and showing you all their tactics and letting you know what's wrong with them, and also showing you how incompetent and how unstable they are while they're gang stalking an American citizen, and they couldn't outthink me. They couldn't outmaneuver me. That's the P.O.C. All right. And that's what's so funny while they're gang stalking, all that hysterical laughter. And the entity is doing cartwheels and planes over the Ontario Senior Center. UPS that's not doing anything other than gang stalking, including while they have boxes and packages in their hands. They're a bunch of vagina monitors, and they're obsessed with me, as are the demons that are driving around in utility vehicles. Obsession by the millions of dollars that they've spent and invested in stalking me. Obsession while you're obsessively putting cameras and watching me in the nude and paying and charging other people for it on the internet. There's nothing funny about anything that I discussed. The entity is going to be involuntarily committed, and this African American in particular, he's another one that's going to prison. I have him being a psychopath inside of the library. He's so focused on fixing the coin machine. No, he was monitoring. That's why the impossible light activities inside of that library. The feds are paying very close attention. He's going to prison. And I just want to be clear, just to let you know, like I said, if I have announced, and I'm just not just going, you're violating the rules, you're engaging in a certain manner in violation of the law. When I say those magical words, you're going to prison, I'm going to let you know right now, you're going to prison. That's the P.O.C. And there's nothing funny about that either. I'm capturing the fake sun over the top of my head. It is currently 11:49 a.m. At 12:49 p.m., the fake sun is in the exact same position. 12:49 p.m., I'm at the Upland Public Library yesterday where the fake sun is in the exact same position. The fake sun, not the natural environment, which is speaking to absolutely nothing being funny, absolutely nothing going on inside a Page One Cafe except for gang stalking. P.O.C.
I don't mean to interrupt you. Can I give you this letter?
All right, it's currently 11:56 a.m. So I just want to document the entity is engaged in psychopathic pacing, and they're using the Page One Cafe entrance, Page One Cafe that's closed today. So they're doing so with regard to stalking. Stalking is born of obsession. So the entity that wants to and is failing at, this is a psychological breakdown because gang stalkers are being committed. But the entity is engaging in what is wanting to present as one way, and somebody told, Satan is the one that told them that it's a good way to gang stalk and quote unquote not look like you're stalking by just looking the other way or working at the place where you're stalking or living at the place where you're stalking or like hysterically laughing while serious allegations and an ongoing investigation is underway. It's like being in federal court and laughing hysterically. A judge will, in that case, also order you to be committed. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and the entity is doing so while pacing in and out. That's what's happening under the fake sun, and they're doing so also while it is relevant. Even if Page One Cafe was open, though, it's still pacing. But I just want to be clear, it's not even open, and the city of Ontario is engaging what is going out of its way to access it, opening it repeatedly in order to engage in what is stalking. Okay, that's what I want to document right now. And doing so, again, I'm capturing at, I'm subject to what is the pattern of conduct under the fake sun that's still here. And that's also how, literally, in other words, the fake sun proves that Page One Cafe is being accessed with regard to criminal surveillance. In other words, Page One Cafe is engaged in stalking because the entity is going to be prosecuted. Businesses are going to be prosecuted as stalkers. All right, so that's what the entity is engaged in. Let me get out of the way while the entity is stalking behind me on the ramp while UPS is crossing paths. This is the same one that was gang stalking with their lokes on and laughing hysterically, doing the same thing together, simultaneously while engaging in that. Let me show you. Here you go. Going into Page One Cafe. Doing so, reciting it as I am describing it, and doing so under the fake sun. These are the things that they do. It's going to be in court. So there's no question. They are admittedly engaging the P.O.C., and that's perfectly fine. That's the entity that's doing so while the fake sun is over me yesterday in Upland, California. And before that, I'm in at the Walmart, and then I come back, I return, and at 12:49 p.m., the fake sun left from being, that's how it's over Walmart. And then this is where the entity is listening to me document, and then this Caucasian male that works with IT, this is the city of Ontario, he's going to prison, and he is coming up, crossing path, the entity is stalking with plain activity, UPS does another car. Well, I took pictures of it in real time. So I'm just documenting the fact that the entity is engaging in it in real time as hostile psychos that are replicating. This is, in other words, the psychopathic disorder, which is, it literally is Satan that is fuming as I report what he's doing, and then he'll do it again. Okay, so this is beyond stalking. It's mentally ill while the employees are pacing all around, and they're going to be in facilities pacing around, engaging in what is criminal monitoring and furtherance of murdering me. So you're not just engaging in psychopathic behavior for naught. You're doing it while you're failing at psychologically torturing someone that knows exactly what you're doing, and I'm maintaining diligent evidence that's going to be presented in court to have them committed. But that's what the entity just did right now, and they did it, again, conveniently right in front. That's speaking to impunity, not innocence. Okay, that's the entity that's engaging in criminal surveillance, and they do so with regard to, that's fine, I'm glad you documented it. No, they're not. That's why the entity stalks by helicopter, because they're enraged and they're scared. But Satan is, again, very deep embedded mental issues. The ego supersedes what is your liberty outside of a court, your humiliation of being committed, and they'll do that regardless of the fact that you're going to prison for it. That's what's gang stalking right now, because that's literally what these homosexuals are concerned about. And what is everyone looking at? Are you looking at what you would consider to be strong and mighty, stalking me in a helicopter, or are you aware of the fact, oh yeah, I'm stinging them? They're very much perturbed. They're embarrassed. So they start pulling out the helicopter. All right. And the helicopter is the biggest, baddest, scariest thing that you have. And I'm laughing at you because you look absurdly psychotic in a circus environment where a fake sun is showing that you worship me. That helicopter activity is literally you bowing at the altar of Erica Spencer. But this is supposed to be the entity that's gang stalking. That's what's coming out of its way. He's already in the library. So he comes out of the front entrance to walk around the side of it to go into the back entrance. Understand everything that's included and what the entity is going out of its way to do. Okay, that's the P.O.C. That's the entity that's going to be federally prosecuted. He is going to prison. The African-American male, you'll see him knee slapping. That's the one that's, you'll see him in the images that are engaged in that. Going out of the way where Page One Cafe is closed, and this is the terrorism and harassment that engaged in while the entity was monitoring me inside of the Ovid Family Community Library, including in the bathroom. So they're simultaneously admitting to engaging in vagina monitoring. Pay attention to the fake sun while demons are pacing. Fake sun is here at 9 o'clock in the morning. Fake sun is here at 7 a.m. in the morning. So this is the P.O.C. I just want to document that they're conspiring with the U.S. military. There's no passengers. There's no packages on those UPS planes. They're engaging in what is doing cartwheels in alignment to me. And then they're walking over to the office where Paul Leon is located. Paul Leon is being prosecuted by the gang stalking by the city of Ontario. That's what the entity is exposing while they are doing so. In other words, in real time while they're being documented, the entity replicates that which is the pattern of conduct that they never intended to. This is what's understanding. The entity is engaging in that which is criminal and obvious out of embarrassment. They're gang stalking and you're not supposed to know what they're doing. When that demonic spirit is enraged, they proceed to do it at a frequent rate. This is the helicopter activity that begins pacing in circles. This is the plane activity where it goes from 1, 2 to 14 in my videos where I'm showing you psychopathic pacing. This is the entity that is building up with light activity the more that I show them. And they're doing that which they were never intending on doing in front of everyone. And they're doing it now. They're being forced to. And this is now what they're using as, yeah, I'm going to do it like you're no, you're not. You're humiliated and you are embarrassed because I am calling it out. That's what's going out and doing it blatantly like this, which is a federal offense at that. I'm just showing you how sophomoric. I'm showing you how delusional. I'm showing you how, as with regard to the defects mentally behind what are making the decisions that they make moment by moment. Because it's beyond a prosecution, it is relevant to the mental illness of that entity. Okay. The employees are coming out of the entrance area where you can walk through the library to get into the Page One Cafe with keys. It's connected to the library. He comes out of the front entrance to enter in with the other demon that's just entering in. And it's not a matter of, well, they can do whatever they want because they're city of employees. That's not the question. You're looking at the fake sun. They're pacing. They're mentally ill. And they're doing so because they're hostile demons, mentally ill, obstruction of justice, ongoing impunity. That's increased damages. That's increased prison time. You're talking about you're being committed. This is why I go through that. This is all because they're being documented. Why UPS is not helping that? They're acting with the military, the homosexuals that are doing cartwheels in the planes. That's letting you know he's going out of his way, going out of the front. This is how important I am. And this is also letting you know what I was documenting the entire time inside of the Ovid Family Community Library. Him and everyone else monitoring my vagina in the bathroom. Confirmation of evidence that's already sitting on the record, where he and all of the rest of the employees are in a PDF regarding kidnapping that they committed in June of 2022. And also regarding the entity that's engaged in criminal summoning over and over again with the people of the state. The demons that are pacing inside are the demons that are inside of a building. Like I'm showing you at the Upland Public Library. Pacing, stalking, obsessing, mentally ill, criminal activity, a mentally ill entity. So that's the P.O.C. The entity is engaging in what is pacing in and out of the Page One Cafe because this is where I'm at. And as I documented that, that's when the entity is engaging in what is more of the same, proving exactly that all the entity does is prove what it is that I'm stating. And that is the stalker, the follower, that is the demons, the ones that are behind me, they're beneath me. And they're also going to follow me, leading them to prison and to mental institutions. That's literally where that ends. But that's what they're doing. They're self-destructive conduct, literally as I document, because Page One Cafe is closed. Sure, the employees can access it, but they're engaging in that to gang stalk me. And they're knee slapping laughter under the fake sun. That's what you're paying attention to, stalkers. And it includes UPS, Southwest Airlines, Delta Airlines, American Airlines, Amazon Prime Air, the entity that's maintaining no terminals while they're engaging what is stalking by going into the closed cafe because they are stalking me, because they're obsessed with me, and because they're frustrated as I expose that and they engage in more of that. Okay? It's not harmless conduct. It certainly is not lawful. It's absolutely unlawful. The entity is mistaking what your position is and you have access to, but it is unlawful while you're engaging in criminal monitoring. They're going to prison. This is what the entity is always mistaking. But that's okay because this is capitalizing with regard to prosecution. Having access as a police department to helicopters and engaging in what is having access and the ability in that position to engage in flight over the city is not the lawful engagement in what is that same conduct for gang stalking, which is proven through the pattern of conduct, and you're going to prison. The entity has mistaken that, and there is a nuanced, very distinct difference. This is lawlessness, and they are idiotic because they have walked right into that trap, showing you how maniacal, how cold-blooded, how perverted, because this is exactly the same personality when I'm inside of the library and I'm documenting and I'm describing whoever and whatever they're doing. That's exactly what it is that I am exposing about them. And engaging in what is the authority by DMV with a driver's license to be on the roads and the highways is not the lawful act of stalking, gang stalking on the roads and the highways. You're going to prison for these things. The entity is engaged in what is public corruption. They don't have under the law any rights to engage in what they're doing because they've mistaken what is the position that they have. The access, the ability to do so is your simultaneous violation of federal law engaging in domestic terrorism. The two are very, very different. They're going to prison and they just literally hand over evidence to that end. And that's because they are maniacal psychopaths who lack in self-control because they are demon possessed. The spirit of Satan is literally using their vessels. Understand this. Access and criminal activity are not equal. That's why you have police officers like Landerval who are going to prison. That's how they engage in that. And I will prosecute you, showing how you are engaging in the latter while you are abusing what is your access. And it's pathetic. They're going into the closed cafe because they're stalking me. While these baboons are engaging in cartwheels and planes, they're going to prison. That's the P.O.C. And there's nothing funny about that. Nothing. All right. The entity's flying over the city hall. Pollyanna is going to federal prison, doing so at 12:08 p.m. That's not a flight to any destination. This is the entity that's maintaining a whole unpublished means of the use of planes at the Ontario City Hall. And there is no access that you have to planes to engage in this ongoing joyriding conduct by planes. That doesn't even exist. They're blatantly just engaging in stalking. It's the entity that's engaging in that. And the entity that is stalking in planes and helicopters is doing so with the people who do not have any right or authority or access to engage in gang stalking, which is what they're doing. And this is Ovid Family Community Library. All the employees, Natasha, Mickey, that you see gang stalking this morning, she's doing so during the 9 a.m. hour. There's nothing funny about her co-defendant who's giving evidence against her. She's gang stalking. There's nothing funny about her going to prison. And laughing while you're going to prison doesn't make it seem like that's funny. It's actually funny. It's going to cause you to be committed, like any other federal judge in court would be like, what are they laughing about? What is funny? Why is your client laughing? You're going to be committed. There's nothing funny at all. And I know what humor is. I make jokes all the time. I make jokes about the demon possessed. There's nothing funny. There's nothing funny also about going to prison. Believe me, they don't want to go there. There's nothing funny about planes doing cartwheels in an area where no commercial planes are ever going to be present based on even the existence of an airport. There's nothing funny about that clear, glaring violation of even a written policy between the city and the airport, about ordinary, customary operations when you are conducting a takeoff and or a landing, about what the planes are doing when they're headed to a destination, which doesn't include making U-turns. Moreover, not just U-turns, but they're incessantly doing that multiple times every hour under the phenomenon where the sun doesn't move anywhere. And when it does move, it's when I'm in an entirely different location, and then I keep a record about when it didn't move the day before. Like what the Ovid Family Community Library employees and the City of Ontario employees are doing under the fake sun and trying to feel comfortable by just adding laughter to the P.O.C. They're being committed. This is P.O.C. Going out of your way and accessing the Page One Cafe is the entity engaging in the gang stalking conduct. All right. And they are forced to engage in gang stalking like you're hearing. The plain activity is an ongoing admission to criminal monitoring by a mentally ill and inherently inferior entity that cannot engage in this conduct anywhere in the world in secret. And in the United States, the domestic enemy that is the U.S. government, many are going to prison and they're being committed. Okay. The P.O.C. is underway. The entity engaged in that ongoing exposition, going out of the way. Oh, okay, I'm going to go pace in and out of the doors because I said it. That's exactly what they engaged in again. And guess what else I said? You're being committed and you're going to prison, and they're going to do that as well. This is P.O.C. It is currently 12:11 p.m. You're going to watch the entity follow from this is prosecuting Mickey, because the fake son follows me to Upland, California. She's going to prison. You're going to watch the fake son follow me to Upland, California, and these demons that are engaged in knee-slapping laughter. It's going to be assessed because you know the truth about what they're doing, and then you're looking at how they're doing it. So you're really stalking somebody, monitoring someone under that which is clearly indicative of what is that system that is psychotic, supernatural, occurring in plain view. The evidence is not even hidden, and you commence to laughter. Is it funny, sir? This is the judge. You find it funny to engage in psychologically torturing American citizens? Is that funny to you? All right. And if you start laughing in court, you're going to find yourself in even more trouble increasingly while you continue to behave in that manner. Do you find it funny when you're conspiring the murder of an American citizen? Can you answer that? You think it's funny going to being sentenced to damages and being prosecuted, being viewed under the law as a terrorist? Is that entertaining to you? Because this is what the entity is doing. They're gang stalking, and Satan is literally using laughter because Satan is an imbecile. Okay? Satan can't contend with facts. Satan cannot contend with me. He's not formidable at all. So Satan engages in, I'm going to call the police. Satan engages in flying in circles and flying over my head by helicopter. Satan engages in what is making false and malicious assertions. Satan engages in what is trying to engage in what is harassment and name calling to deflect away from, wait, you're here because you're obsessed with me and you're stalking me and you want to be me. Satan engages in what is more obvious criminal engagement in that pattern of conduct. While I'm using that, thank you for giving me more evidence, Satan. I didn't even thank you. I didn't, okay, thank you. That's literally what Satan does. Satan is an idiot. And that idiot is operating through a vast amount of people who are all going down together because no one, not one of them, not even with NASA, has an intelligent response. There is no response with regard to terrorism. The only one that's going to make a response is the federal government, and you're witnessing it. Martial law, the lockdown of an entity. And every area of law that can be applied is going to be used to prosecute through what are the application of laws, policies, and the way in which that domestic terrorists that are that entire state are going to exist, and that's if they're not deported, and that's if they're not in prison, how their life is going to exist in the U.S. because they are enemies that are in the country. They will be enjoying zero entitlements, zero benefits, zero support from the government. Zero. And they find that funny. So give them quite a laugh. That's what the federal government, I'm going to give you something to laugh about. All right, that's the P.O.C. It is currently 12:14 p.m. That fake son that follows from Ontario is prosecuting this vagina monitor, this loser, this psycho that is embarrassed because he's obsessively stalking me and is engaging in what is laughter to try to deflect away from that. That's pointing directly, it's not having that effect, it's pointing directly to his severe mental instability. Okay? And the rest of them that are surrounding them, all together a group of sex offenders that are all stalking me, which you know by the fake son. But I go even deeper with that and break down that whole scene. While the fake son follows me to Upland, California today, this is the evidence that's going to put them in prison. While they're engaging with that psychological torture, while you go and repeat the very thing that I'm documenting in real time, and I captured it snap by snap by snap, play by play by play, they're going to prison. That's accomplishing psychological torture. You're psychologically torturing me in furtherance of murdering me. And you're even doing it while the criminal objective is not going to occur. But that doesn't mean you're not going to prison for it. I'm going to prosecute you for it. And you're also enabling everyone else, including the homosexual stalking, doing cartwheels, which I also captured in that image, while that fake son is following me to a different city, proving what you were doing at that time, which I stated as the case at that time. And you do so cold-blooded in the presence of an American citizen that you contend with while you are stalking and monitoring them in their face, threatening their life and their well-being, having already committed kidnapping, having already committed criminal summoning. He's going to prison, just like I said, okay? And the evidence of the fake son going with me is putting them in prison. That's why their criminal pattern of conduct does not ever cease to exist, or that's the end of it when I leave. No. The entity that engaged in discrimination, which is on its surface, you're assessing discrimination. They're discriminating against me over Family Community Library on March 3rd, 2026. But it's federal group stalking and monitoring. It's this. They're doing it. See Gerber, child, he is on video at 10 o'clock in the morning while they're laughing like nothing is happening. This is how you're prosecuting. They are already surrounded. Obviously, yes, they need to laugh because what else are they going to do? What are they going to do? Hopefully you're just looking at, oh, look at, they're not gang stalking. Look at him laughing. Look, he's dying. And they're not stalking her because he's laughing so hard. He couldn't be stalking her because if he was stalking her, he wouldn't be laughing. That's logic to them. Vagina monitors who crouch in bathroom stalls, wearing police uniforms, stalking. That's logic to them. This is the entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct, and as this fake son moves against me, take a good look. Go back and look at those pictures of what are pathetic sex offenders, obsessed with vagina. Obsessed with vagina that couldn't be the least concerned about them and would never be. And while they're also engaging in what is criminal conduct, speaking to an obsessive nature, all right? And the demons that are embarrassed and hostile, they're going to replicate the same P.O.C. right now. Pay attention. This is the product of demons monitoring evidence. This is monitoring evidence going out of their way to engage in crossing path. They're under the fake sun. Hi. Ontario Police is prison. Are you Ontario Police as well? Yeah, ma'am. Oh, you're just with them? Gang stalking? That's still prison as well. That's the P.O.C. Do you want to give your name while you're going out of your way stalking? Do you want to do that? Your partner Gerber is going to prison, and I know you're consumed with me and my vagina. That's why you are getting locked up. But I'm glad that you're bothered because everybody knows that you're preoccupied with me. That's why you're sounding sirens and walking by. You're cowards. And it's pathetic. And you are out of a job. No police association is going to help you. As you incriminate everybody else, including in Ovid, they're going to prison. They're engaging in that ball. They are very much by my evidence. That's not a police department. Sounding sirens simultaneously while walking by. These are demons engaging in what is an ongoing failed ritual. It's mentally ill behavior, and it's because a bunch of homosexuals are engaged in what is gang stalking, and they're embarrassed, and it's so pathetic. That's why I wanted to give video of it. This is tying into the very audio that I just captured. They're walking through the Ontario Senior Center, and they're walking up this way, and then the entity is crossing path while they sound sirens. Those are the demons that are not engaged in any emergency services. In a gang stalking enterprise, the fire departments, the ambulances, and the police departments are engaged in criminal monitoring. And they do so when they're being prosecuted because those homosexuals are embarrassed about their sexual proclivities being built into their criminal prosecution, and they're being involuntarily committed. Okay, that's the P.O.C. That's what's crossing paths right now. It says Ontario Police Department on his chest, which is the entity that's gang stalking. C. Gerber is under this fake sun at 10 o'clock. He already knows he's going to prison. That's why he engaged in criminal summoning on March 3rd. He already knows he's going to prison, and he is. That entire department is being disbanded. You see this fake sun moving over me? And all the demons, just like I said on the podcast, this is reiterating that same point. While you see the fake sun remaining over me in UPLAND, that prosecutes the to-be disbanded vagina monitors of the so-called Ontario police that are co-conspiring with the homosexuals of the U.S. military, stalking me and obsessing over me city to city, county to county, in planes and helicopters. Okay? The entities engaging what is keeping this fake sun, which is speaking to the criminal conduct of everything that I'm documenting here. The pathetic act of stalking and hiding behind a puppy dog, wearing pants that are far too tight. The entities engaging in this pattern of conduct while they are stalking as a whole city, a city hall, a senior center, an apartment complex, commercial airline companies that are doing cartwheels in front of me, obsessing over me. And that's why they're so bothered. They want to experience what is literally stalking by crossing my path. And you know that it's criminal monitoring and furtherance of murder. It's no small thing. And the entities engage in that while they are listening to every syllable that I utter. And they're also monitoring my vagina. That's what they're simultaneously admitting to. That's what's so pathetic about what is Mike LORENZ, whose mental illness is at the outset, while violence remains underway on his watch. He's going to prison, and so is Paul Leon. This is C. All right, the video that you just listened to is a quote-unquote response, just like the IT employee, Alan's co-worker, Alan's co-defendant, that have been gang stalking me inside of the Ovid Family Community Library. They also engaged in kidnapping June 16, 2022. But the ones that they are engaging in what is a quote-unquote, it's unfortunate that their criminal activity is literally founded on severe mental instability, and as a result, they continue to engage in self-harming based on the nature of their mental illness. So this is an entity that is engaging in psychopathic behavior, and they are triggered while their psychopathic behavior is called out because it's not hidden behind any illusion. And I'm also breaking down how not only is that not any effective illusion, you shouldn't be deceived by that. Everybody can see it. Good. I'm glad everybody can see it now. And now let's point and laugh at how stupid they are, how stupid it is. And nobody should ever be tricked by that ever again. The demons are triggered by that, and then they engage in more of that criminal activity. And now under these circumstances, you're getting more and more federal time. You're being committed, and you're not, in other words, your mental illness and the ways in which you struggle that are a threat to other people, literally the country, because you're engaged in terrorism. Like, you get off on murdering people, psychologically torturing them and harassing them, and you like to do it in their face. Even if they try to enforce their rights and document it, they'll jump out, hold on, let me gang stalk you again. That's exactly what the entity did with UPS. All right, coming to the Page One Cafe entrance, as I documented that, replicating it, UPS coming in and providing another somersault in a plane and another plane, and then pacing off under the fake sun. This is exactly what this demon of Ontario Police, going out of their way to represent Ontario Police on his shirt, and doing so with psychopaths that are actually enraged. You're going out of your way because you're triggered, not because something is funny. But they're gang stalking with smirks on their face because these are not men, these are women. Okay, and remember, the women are all lesbians as well. These are women who are obsessed with me. And they're triggered by how I truthfully describe the ineptitude that is stalking me. The entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct, and they're doing so. Remember what I stated? The Ontario Police crouching in a bathroom? That's you that's doing that. You're pathetic. You're not a police officer or a police department. You crouch in bathroom stalls stalking. Look at the video. The demon, that lesbian, is facing me in the bathroom, focused on my vagina as well, is what you gather from that. The engineer light is showing focused on my vagina. The mentally ill that are stalking, pacing you must have had a whole group because the loud door was repeatedly slamming. So we had a whole gang of people that had to use the bathroom while my vagina is exposed, and it's accented with ongoing amplified audible activity. While the Ontario police are obsessing over me, the Ontario police cross path with me. These are psychopaths that are calling themselves reacting to the evidence while they're monitoring. These are the mentally ill, okay? The mentally ill that have been roaming free like rabies infected dogs, without adequate treatment, without assessment, without any labels, without any means of confining them away from the public so they can't infect other people, so they can't harm other people, so they can't deceive others that are around them and becoming infected as well, being gang stalked, targeted by them, being violated by them. This is an entity that's engaging in that, a whole population of them that have been existing in plain sight, the demon possessed. That's what that was about. These are women. Mike Lorenz, woman, okay? This is an entity that's engaging in feminine conduct, okay? Not a real woman, not a respectable woman, nonetheless, very feminine, very emotional, okay? Very reactive, okay? Very unhinged, okay? While you listen to the truth that I speak about you, because if you weren't stalking, you would not be the subject. What is the entity doing flying over my head by helicopter? Oh, that's called a reaction. That's because you're triggered. You're very much affected by me because you're obsessed with me. Those are women. Those are not police officers. And you know the women are all predatory lesbians, obsessed with my vagina. Okay? This is that Jezebel spirit that can't be me as much as she wants to. Okay? The entity that is engaging in this pattern of conduct is engaged in an ongoing confusion regarding what your focus is. Your focus was supposed to be trying to depict somebody as something that they're not, when you are actually out here proving that you're homosexuals, proving that you're mentally ill, proving that you're stalkers, proving that you are mentally unwell, incompetent to maintain the access that you maintain in order to engage in this criminal system. And also you're unfit with regard to the severe mental instability that is also thereby exposed while you gang stalk me and I prosecute you through my documentation, which you continuously aid me in. That's what was happening while the entity started sounding sirens simultaneously. That simultaneity of conduct, that's demonic activity, the demons engaging in targeting together. Okay, that simultaneity of conduct, the UPS plane doing a cartwheel while a sex offender of Ovid Family Community Library walks up the ramp to go through the Page 1 Cafe entrance as I speak about the Page 1 Cafe entrance that's closed, which is revealing to you obsession, pacing, psychotic conduct, stalking, going out of your way. It's not about the access that you have. It's about the unlawfulness while you're gang stalking. That's why the fake sun is over me while you're going into the Page 1 Cafe that is closed. And you could go into the Page 1 Cafe through the entrance. He's an employee. He could have walked right through. There's an entity that's engaged. He could have knocked on the door while his homosexual friend was just sitting in there stalking me. They sell food in the Page 1 Cafe. This is an entity that's engaged. It's very pathetic what they're engaging in, and then they're just embarrassed. So what do psychopaths do? They monitor. That's what the sirens are. There's no emergency services. This is the surveillance system exposed. That's why there will be no police, fire, and ambulance. It's surveillance. And these are stalkers that are being paid. These are stalkers that set fires and then go put them out and put it on TV. These are stalkers that commit murder and then conduct an investigation and claim that they solved the case. These are stalkers that engage in playing cops and robbers under the fake sun when you're looking at police chases on the freeway. They're under the fake sun. They're playing cops and robbers. They're keeping themselves employed. They're embarrassed with the truth. And while they're embarrassed, they engage in more criminal activity. The only thing you're getting from targeting me and gang stalking me is you're giving me all your money and then you're going to prison. This is the P.O.C. It's currently, and this is a holy stick up. Okay, it's authorized by God. You're giving up everything, including your liberty. Everything that didn't belong to you in the first place. This is P.O.C. It's 12:31 p.m. 12:38 p.m.
12:38 p.m. is moments away from the video that I captured at 12:49 p.m. yesterday. I'm in Upland, California yesterday, where the mentally ill are laughing while they're gang stalking. And this is, again, an unpersuasive, psychologically disturbed method. This is a demented method regarding trying to avert attention away from the fact that you are stalking, and it does not. It is behavior that is analyzed with regard to the mental illness posed by the entity that's stalking. 12:49 p.m. the fake sun is over me both here and over me in the same exact manner in a different city over the top of my head, and it's zenith at two places at the same time. And those two places are in two different cities while I'm outside, and while I'm outside at a specific location also. I'm at the edge of the building. That's very exclusive because behind me there's no sky space to see. So the fake sun, we're going to go through the fake sun versus the natural environment. So the sun is how I refer to it. The sun is in a position where it could not be in any location on the opposite side of the building, for example, in order for me to see it. It is at the edge of the building as I look up while I am standing at the Ovid Family Community Library at the Page One Cafe Inn, where the demons that were laughing and stalking and monitoring engaged in doing so under that fake sun that's in the same position right now. And it was doing the same thing this morning at 9 a.m. where my vagina is being monitored inside of the bathroom of the Ontario City Hall that is still gang stalking at 12:40 p.m. right now because the sun hasn't gone anywhere. So the entity has this fake sun and it's in an exclusive position because it cannot be in any other position. It's not where I am at the Page One Cafe at the Ovid Family Community Library. I am facing south. So the sun could not be north of me or I wouldn't be able to capture it in the video. You have to look at the video and see what I'm talking about. The sun could not be north in any direction north because I wouldn't be able to capture it on video. The sun could not be in any direction that would be east or west. Obviously, it's over the top of my head in its zenith. That's exclusive. And it's also not going to be what is south of me while it's over the top of my head. And I'm not aiming toward Metro 102 Apartments or the B&G Plaza or Economy N toward the 60 freeway. I'm aiming my camera up in the sky, upward, above my head. And that's where I'm aiming the camera inside of the Upland Public Library, where the Upland Public Library is, first of all, north of the Ovid Family Community Library, which is where I'm at 12:49 p.m. And then I use that to juxtapose the fake sun that's in its zenith over my head inside of a building, moreover. And thankfully, that building has windows at the ceiling, and you can see the fake sun. You can see it while I walk around in that building, and that fake sun moves. And at 12:49 p.m., that fake sun is in its zenith over the top of my head, which is also exclusive sky space, which neither will happen at the same time. It would be one or the other in the natural environment, and that's just arguing that because actually neither are happening in the natural environment. And how is that? Because there is also pre-existing evidence of being at both addresses, both cities, both locations, ecological, latitude and longitude at the point of sunrise, meaning 6 to 7 a.m. I'm at this same location. I mean, the natural environment, the sun wouldn't be there at 12:49 p.m. And at Upland Public Library, such as what I'm documenting Landivar engaging in, these women who sound sirens while they're triggered because they're stalking me. And if you weren't stalking, you wouldn't be triggered by what you're listening to me state. Landivar is under a fake sun, stalking me as a department, just like the Ontario Police Department. They're not a police department, but they're going by police department because they don't want you to know, and it's not supposed to be known that they're engaged in surveillance with the U.S. military. They're being disbanded because that's known. Okay, but they are engaging in that surveillance system under the deceptive misnomer police department. And they're doing so where the entity is stalking by planes like what you just heard. And they're doing so in an environment that is irreconcilable. And it is that which federal judges will rely upon. It is science that they are given. That is a measure that is even above and beyond the legal standard of that which is above beyond a reasonable doubt. It is scientific evidence, not scientific like NASA would claim, but it's scientific with regard to even using NASA as an example of liars.
Okay, with regard to what the sun is not doing, it is not moving, it's remaining over me. And it's also not just one sun necessarily, because 2 different days I'm showing 2 different behaviors of this light source that's also hovering over my head, where I'm also showing at these 2 different places with this fake sun hovering over my head. It's also evident with tangible evidence. It's proven that it's there both at sunrise and at sunset. I've documented that. That's scientific evidence that a judge can rely on, and no liar can sit in court and try to contend with that. The entity is engaging what is stalking. You know that the entity is stalking in planes because there are no terminals where any planes are going to create any sort of noise. That's a nuisance. It's also a nuisance because these women are engaging in that conduct over and over again because they're mentally ill. They're engaged in pacing around me. But it's stalking because they're under the fake sun. The sun that in a natural environment is supposed to be somewhere else. And I'm able to show that, underscore it, highlight it when I just do something different. And let me show you how they are stalking me with the fake sun. They are the mentally ill that engage in laughing when they're stalking because they don't know what else to do. And that's even mentally ill behavior. Stop stalking. The camera that's capturing you doing it is proof to you that you're not getting away with it. And they're still stalking. In fact, they're stalking more. While I put out that camera. That's what the Over Family Community Library employee did. He came out the front entrance in order to make sure I witnessed him gang stalking me, which is a threat to my life and safety and well-being. And it is relevant to the threat that he has been posing as a gang stalker, working with all of the other gang stalkers like Natasha and Myra and John and Kathy, the demons that are gang stalking, such as Alexander and Alex, the Alan, who's gang stalking, he works with IT, the entity that is gang stalking with Yesenia. There's 2 Yesenias. The entity that's maintaining this criminal pattern of conduct while targeting me. All of the employees that share that same malice, that same desire to take my life, to harass me in microaggressive, psychopathic manners, such as keeping their back to me while you're stalking me with light and you're stalking me with noise, and you're doing so with the demons that are gang stalking in the venue. These demons can't even read. Okay? They're bringing the developmentally challenged to share in the criminal elements of monitoring. This is the entity that's sharing in that, as the employees are all represented. Those employees are all going to prison, and I've already proven that case is already done. All they're doing is confirming that. They're going to prison and they belong in prison. These are monstrous people. And remember, they're not actually people. These are dogs. They're demons. These are dogs that are literally wearing costumes that appear like you and I. They're demon possessed. And that's why their behavior is so maniacal. And you don't even recognize that maniacal character until I take off that veil for you. And now you can all see it. When this fake sun follows me to Upland, that is the evidence that they're engaging in the very thing that I said. You're stalking. And remember all the ways in which they were stalking, because the medical professionals will. You find it funny while you're psychologically tormenting people. Okay, noted. You find that funny. Okay. Your laughter is very much about me. It's not a joke. Your laughter is about me. It's activity creation. They know why the fake sun is there. You find it funny to monitor someone, which is psychologically torturous conduct. And even while that person is aware of it and they're enforcing their rights and they're trying to conduct themselves in the best way that anyone has ever seen, like who handles that? Like they're conducting themselves and trying to enforce their rights, and you engage in tormenting them and targeting and threatening them, and you find that humorous. You behave like this while you're engaging in that conduct with all manner of people. You like to engage in that against one person. You like to isolate people while you target them psychologically and physically and sexually. You find that humorous. Is that right? That's what medical professionals are looking at, and that's what they're going to use to diagnose, and you are going to be committed. The entity that's following me with the fake sun, don't forget everything that I just ran through analytically, because I did it for a reason, because they are going to prison and they're going to be committed. And they are the people of the state, the city of Ontario, the demons going out of their way to sound sirens while they walk by me. All right. The demons that are going out of the way to do cartwheels in planes while they walk by me. The demons that are unlocking the cafe that's not even open today because it's so important to walk by me. Don't forget about all the instances of vagina monitoring. Don't forget about discriminating against me and excluding me from the venue. You're going to prison. You don't understand that because you're mentally ill. But you will when those medical professionals break down for you what's about to happen in your life. You're going to prison. And that fake sun remaining over me into the city of Upland is evidence for you, all you witnesses. All right? This is P.O.C. It's 12:48 p.m. All right, criminal facilitation. This is a stalker that takes on the role of stalking in the past, ominous stalking, ominous threatening stalking. It's also psychological torture, while the rest of their co-defendants pace all around me. While their co-defendants pace, that demon that is stalking in a stationary manner with any manner of light activity is also engaging in pacing. These are not individuals, it's an entity. Your psychopathic pacing is occurring under the fake sun that's moving, okay? This is license 31137L4, and they engage in getting out the vehicle as I approach. These are demons engaging in surveillance. 2 white males, light activity behind them. Fake sun you'll see in the picture over me at a distance, fake sun over me as I approach. They are engaging in the pattern of conduct. And this is criminal facilitation. This very criminal facilitation conduct is federal prison material. Just want to be clear. This is what an entity is doing with regard to incentivizing terrorism. And these are decrepit, aged demons that are stalking a black woman together. This looks like another military, a homosexual in the military, a skinhead, stalking a black woman. License 31137L4, and the fake sun is no longer at the opposite end of the street. It's right over me. And as he drives away, the fake sun stays. He is stalking, and so is Country Cuts Barber at 430 Lemon Avenue, P.O.C. All right, criminal facilitation like that. The entity that engages in, and this is what the police do when they're doing a traffic stop. It's actually criminal facilitation, psychopathic pacing. This is what the entity is doing with regard to the street sweepers, okay, like CMAX is engaged in. Like Street Sweeper, I believe. Many of the companies that engage in the same thing, same pattern. It's like Mary Jo, Jane, Tommy, and Alan. They're the same demonic spirit, different names. Okay, they're all dogs dressed up in meat suits. They're all demon possessed. Right? It's criminal facilitation. It's stalking in the path with light. It's massive facilitation. The entity is maintaining light activity while they're all roaches just pacing all around, going around in circles. They're mentally ill while they're monitoring. And then you have the entity that maintains the aerial surveillance while they do that all around me, okay? And they're also doing it in the sky space, flying over and over and over again. So while the fake sun is following to Upland, everybody that was documented, everybody that found it so hysterical is being prosecuted and psychologically assessed, okay? Including the homosexuals flying in Delta Airlines right now. There's no passengers on that plane. That is a mental health patient that is going to be committed. Delta Airlines is going to produce. Ontario International Airport is going to produce. The U.S. military, the state itself, it's going to produce all that it is engaging in. There is not going to be any secrets. It's all coming to me in a criminal trial. This is how you will prosecute in the United States any gang stalker from any place in the world. You will succumb to the jurisdiction of the U.S. government, and you will be federally prosecuted for terrorism. All right, and they're going to produce their identity and who is in that plane, because there's not passengers, and they're going to be federally prosecuted. And this is my documentation's purpose. The fake sun is over me while I'm walking through Chevron right now. This is P.O.C. It is currently 1:47 p.m. And that is speaking to what is facilitation while the U.S. military is stalking me in that manner. And that's why the people of the state go to prison for it. I'm documenting that all the time. I'm documenting it in order to understand the threat waged by a population that practices that. And it's also policy that's intended to disincentivize that. And when demons learn, terrorists understand that you will go to prison, everybody in the car will go to prison, everyone in your household, because the entire federal government and all applicable federal laws go to that and will apply and will hit that household. Any immigrants, any minors, any threat posed to the public with regard to a job where you think you're going to stay, accessing the public, you work in the medical field, legal field, law enforcement, you are working with children, you're driving public transportation. No, you will not. You will not. With regard to the ways in which this is going to affect the entity. You're receiving government benefits to pay your rent. No, you will not anymore. No, you will not. You got a loan from the government to refinance your home. That's coming to an abrupt end. You will not be getting any form of support whatsoever. All right, so the entity's engaging in the pattern of conduct, and I mean the type of things where, oh, I need to borrow money to pay off my, they're not getting, domestic terrorists will not be receiving any sort of benefits of that, of such, of any sort of those tools and means of transactions with the government that are available ordinarily. When you're a terrorist, those are things that are, the government is essentially aiding you in your existence, and the government is treating the enemies of this country as the adversaries that they are with regard to make it on your own. The governments that you are seeking to tear down, to destroy, that you hate, all right, while you're waging war, it's not going to help you, especially while you're targeting American citizens. This is the entity that creates poverty regarding those that they target. And then they also want to reap and receive government benefits to pay, to feed their mouths and the mouths of their baby terrorists, all right, that they give birth to and gang stalk with. And that's just what is a ridiculous means. And then you have terrorists that are in office like Paul Leon who are feeding the terrorists. This is a whole corrupt system that is bent to be subservient to enemies of this country. And enemies are not going to be provided benefits, in other words, that's the bottom line. Enemies are not going to be provided benefits, in other words, incentivizing staying here. All right, so that's the pattern of conduct, and as you're prosecuting that. And the entity will be producing all of its own information. So, yeah. Delta Airlines is engaging in what is terrorism while they are being documented gang stalking. It's P.O.C. Alrighty, the fake sun is over me as I'm at El Pescador. El Pescador is stalking under the law, okay? And El Pescador is making money while it's stalking. And El Pescador is also stalking while all of its customers are criminally monitoring, which is exactly what they're doing while they're walking in and out of the entrance doors, in the parking lot. As the government, you also know that that's what they're doing because the government is documented gang stalking me at El Pescador. Flying in helicopters and planes where there are no takeoffs. They're not just engaging in what is joyriding, they're stalking and monitoring. While the fake sun's strolling across that venue at the speed limit that I go, when it's already in another city on another day, El Pescador is targeting me. All right, that's the P.O.C. It is currently 1:51 p.m. And like I stated, the entity that was engaging in that knee-slapping laughter, you're witnessing mental illness. That's Satan. Satan is so focused on, oh, look at that. She is hallucinating. They would love for that to be the narrative for the ordinary target individual that's being bullied. This entity is being bullied, and you can see how they can't handle it. All right? They start popping fuses and going psychotic and showing how psychotic they were the whole time while they engage in all manner of ridiculous light activity and ridiculous plane and helicopter activity, when at first you were supposed to be so elite and nobody even knows anything because nothing is happening. Oh, a lot is happening. They're doing everything that the evidence proves that they're doing. And they cannot handle that public exposure. The entities engaging in severely mentally ill behavior while you're laughing, engaging in this psychopathic, sexually perverted, mentally deranged pattern of conduct. And that is not a distraction or deflection. It's an outward demonstration of a psychopathic disorder that's a threat to themselves and other people. Very cold-hearted, detached behavior while you are intentionally, that's maniacal, obsessive conduct. That's where you're identifying obsession. Not the typical obsession where, oh God, I'm so obsessed with you, Erica. No, Satan's not going to say that. But Satan is conducting himself that way. Satan is that linebacker, all right, that refuses to abort relevant positioning. And how do you engage in that? I refuse to not stalk you, so I'm going to stand there and I'm just going to laugh like I'm not focused on you. That's the linebacker. That's the obsessed stalker. That's a psychopath. That is obsession with the targeted individual. All right? And Satan does not expect you to be able to recognize that. There's layers that you're getting to. So the average person is not paying that close of attention either. And that's okay. That's what I'm here for. Because the ordinary target individual is subject and is being attacked by a bunch of illusions. They're being attacked by them. And the demon possessed are creating a whole reality pertaining to illusions that they've created and maintained for their demented, criminal, and corrupt purposes. And they are absurdly psychotic. They're psychotic. Their own illusions, in fact, are going to have them put away in the facilities where they belong. And if they can't afford to pay their own way in the United States, then that is not the government's problem. They are literally the government's problem, that because they have to be exterminated like the roaches that they are. They have to be prosecuted. It is not the government's problem, and it is a privilege. It is an extra constitutional aspect regarding existence for the government to provide any sort of assistance. It's not a right. All right, the government's engaging in criminal activity while they're pacing. You hear that beep? License plate 6LGS766. They're pacing. This demon is far away from the crosswalk, doesn't want to be documented, and I'm going to document her. That's audible activity 8MNS875. While they're stalking, I want you to see how far away she is. And I say she whether it's a male or not. These are not men. They're all women. Stalking obsessively under the fake sun. License plate 9EPK922 at Henry, H as in Henry Street and Euclid. What's over me is not remaining at the Ontario Civic Center like it did for a series of hours. And so that supernatural phenomenon ends as my presence ends. And you're laughing as though your mental illness that's being put on display is funny. And that's exactly what's going to be restrained in straitjackets. Okay, now that would be wrong for all of us to laugh, but it is funny. It's actually funny. The entities engaging in that P.O.C, and this is exactly what I stated, going out of your way, pacing in and out of a closed cafe that's serving food because you're stalking me. You're stalking. Science, not my word, is proving that you're stalking, but I do have a word. I have a few words regarding your stalking, in fact, and the way in which you're stalking, which needs to be studied. The entities engaging in that conduct, and it is the evidence that not just those baboons are stalking, everybody in every plane, the entity that was stalking a helicopter at 10:55 a.m., doing so because they're hostile. That is, it's not funny, you're scared, and you're behind the scenes crying in fear, while you still pull out like a psychopath helicopters, desperate and crazy enough to think that helicopter activity is going to help you any day. It did not help you when you stole my car in October of 2019, and it's not helping you in 2026 when you are going to prison for it. It didn't help then, and it's not helping now. It's not helping this year under any circumstances. But that's the entity's P.O.C. All right, so that's what I'm stating with regard to looking back. Yes, look forward of what I'm documenting. I'm documenting everybody I'm encountering. This entire city is stalking. Everywhere that I'm going, I'm subject to surveillance. That's what that means. When everywhere that you're going, everyone is stalking everywhere that you are. And as you're headed there, you are being continuously stalked. You're being literally gang stalked. You are under surveillance. That's what that is. The entity is engaging in this, and you're remembering everything that I documented this morning. While a psychopath, that's a violent sex offender that sits around masturbating while they're monitoring you on their device and your vagina is exposed in the bathroom, and they just try to laugh off how pathetic they feel as I document them on the internet. That is what you are remembering while it's laughing hysterically under a whole fake sun. That's a whole mental health patient, and everybody standing around in that circle going in and out of that closed cafe. It's pathetic. When you look at it, it's pathetic, isn't it? It's real pathetic. It's P.O.C. though. It's pathetic for a government to engage in this in the United States of America because they claim one thing and we claim some tall, mighty things. And then look at what we are actually doing. It's pathetic. Oh, it's so pathetic. They pull out helicopters because they're so infuriated about the truth regarding what you are, what you're doing, and what you are because of what you're doing. Don't get out of the messenger. It's the P.O.C. It's currently 1:58 p.m. Okay, couple of things. You will see in the evidence that the fake sun took the same route that it takes at 7 o'clock in the morning over me into the doors of the Upland Public Library, where
The employee, Alan, is present at 10 o'clock in the morning, and the fake sun arrives over me after 2 p.m., meaning there was no sun over at the library until I arrived, and that's when it is over the venue itself, where there was already pre-existing sunlight all over. That's speaking to what is the ongoing surveillance system in an unnatural environment, a supernaturally mutually exclusive environment where the sun was remaining in Ontario. It remains over me in Ontario, while it was simultaneously, as a matter of evidence, remaining over Alan, over me, checking out a laptop under the fake sun, library filled with engineer light, where Joy, Carissa, Elizabeth, my demon-possessed fan base of the medical field who come to pace around me wearing scrubs, engaging in the pattern of conduct under the fake sun. I did give those mentally ill and unfit, they're not doctors or anything, and they won't be, but they are in the medical profession. They wear scrubs, so they are likely in nursing or some form of nursing. They're engaging in the psychopathic behavior, and they represent the entity that will be removed from the medical field. They come in to participate in pacing, mentally ill behavior. This is the demon-possessed fan base that I maintain, and they all, just like everyone else, come to engage in stalking. They come to participate and experience gang stalking, to experience the prosecution. This is an entity that is obsessed, and the fascination with the demon-possessed, who are in fact mentally ill, and they are also triggered by the fact that you know that psychopaths cloak themselves in scrubs so that they can actually inflict harm on people. And how does Satan do that? By literally going into the medical field where they are expected, and a psychopath is cloaking itself as one that is doing no harm and showing compassion for healing. They are literally engaging in the exact opposite, the definition of psychopathic behavior, while they are here engaging in gang stalking, which is psychological torture, sexual violence, criminal activity, that which is in its substance and on its face. The fact that the fake sun is here, you are engaging in the P.O.C. You are anybody engaging in the pattern of conduct is unfit to be in the medical field, harboring the malicious capacity to harm another person whose name you don't even need to know. Oh, but these demons know my name. They worship my vagina, and they're wearing scrubs, pacing inside. That's not helping any of the employees who are mentally ill. There is no uniform that makes the fake sun the natural environment where they are pacing all around. And they're doing so while they are demonstrating the fact that those that are unfit in the medical field will be removed from it. And when they are going to be involuntarily committed and removed from the medical field, prosecuted, treated in that way uniformly under federal law, what does the gang stalking, welfare accepting demon that is gang stalking with her 2.5 kids that she can't afford to feed inside of this library house, she's going to be treated under the law? Okay, the gang stalking male that's here as a part-time teacher, substitute teacher, and he's coming in with the children, and one of them that he's adopted to under the guise of teaching them the ABCs under the he's monitoring. He's gang stalking another woman and doing so with minor children, which is how Satan likes to cloak himself, appearing as one way, engaging in something that is totally contrary to that. In fact, the fact that that is coexisting while you're in that position is disturbing. The entities engaging in this with the guise of what's occurring in a library, higher education, seeking out information, the pursuit of knowledge. Right. This is a venue that's existing, meaning city libraries exist in the United States to maintain a means of surveillance throughout the cities. And everybody that works here and everybody that is here, including the demons that are wearing scrubs, are engaging in that. And they help no one. What they do is they establish how and aid in confirming that which the law always is, treating everyone the same. So while you come in wearing any sort of uniform, you'll be prosecuted in that uniform. You will be treated as the unstable psychopath subject to involuntary commitments while you want to demonstrate high mental instability, like the gang members that are coming from these nursing schools that are delusional with regard to I don't know who you think you are. I don't know who they think they are. I'm going to leave that. I was going to say something else. I don't know who you think you are with regard to some sense of superiority or being exceptional to the pattern of conduct, or as though you're a nurse in and of itself is not even at any doctoral level regarding education. And as I've also shown, that is literally
something that is not going to control what is identifying mental illness as it is assessed through criminal activity, because of the corruption of those in the medical field who do have a doctorate level of training and education in the medical field. Moreover, the evidence that I have spoken to, that I have documented, I'm not just giving my opinions, I'm giving evidence. You're seeing the pattern of conduct, science is supporting it, and then I'm analyzing it like any other person would, and I don't have to have gone to medical school in order to do that. And I have exceeded the medical schooling, I have exceeded the schooling that some nurse, some LVN, some registered nurse has gone through, by the way. Okay, you're talking about specialized training in a single area where they're in, which is irrelevant because you're pacing under a fake sun, which is, again, not being tested when they're passing these standardized tests to be around people that are not testing their knowledge and that are trusting them and that are in a position of vulnerability, while psychopaths are being systematically put into the medical field. It is under no circumstances rebutting any of the evidence that's presented. It is showing how the entity is unfit and how this is a surveillance system that is facilitated by the corrupt medical field, all right, where the entity are engaging in the pattern of conduct, and they will be prosecuted. They will be mentally assessed in the same exact manner. In fact, because of as I was giving you an example, because it doesn't matter whether you're on welfare or whether you have a mini mansion in Diamond Bar, or whether you are living in an apartment in the north side of Upland, wherever you are, it doesn't matter. But I'm just stating to the fact that it's only in these, they're mentally ill, they are delusional. There is no hierarchy amongst them. They've created that. They're delusional. There's no hierarchy amongst them. They're all demons, all of them. They're all criminals. The entity is engaging in conduct, and where you're wearing scrubs and you're supposed to be in the medical field, right? They're supposed to be different. I'm showing you the pattern of conduct, which shows that they are not. And you will be treated under the law. You will be treated with regard to the mandatory mental examinations in the same manner that anyone else that's not even in the medical field, and they are both subject to what are involuntary commitments, all right? The only difference is that if you were in the medical field, you will not be anymore after I prosecute you. You will not, and you never will be again. All right, but this is the P.O.C. That's the demon-possessed fan base that comes in wearing scrubs, and the entity does that when they are particularly triggered by the evidence that I am publishing on the internet regarding what are facts. You all see the sun. You all know the rudimentary facts surrounding the sun and the environment. I don't have to make anything up. And then you're necessarily going to look at, okay, so what is everybody doing then? And look at how everybody tries to act while they're doing it. And look at how unpersuasive that act is, and how pathetic is it that they're all engaging in that act, regardless of whether they talk about it and have a meeting. They don't have to, because they're demons. Alrighty, that's the P.O.C. The entity is following with the fake sun up in public library. Joy is here, Carissa, Allen, engaging in what is that P.O.C. And as I show you the entity that is pacing inside of the library, and then I follow up with the picture of what's over their head, it's the fake sun that's over me. These are the mentally ill that are wearing scrubs. And since they want to be the focal point, they are literally the analytical framework regarding prosecuting the people of the state who are all on the same level of mental illness. All of them. Put the demon in a scrub uniform, put the demon in a police uniform. Landafar is here. The fake sun is over the building. Does it change that it's a blue scrub pacing under the fake sun? I can hear you saying the right answer, because it does not change. So the entity is engaging, and I have faith in those that are paying attention. And this is something that your minor children can understand. So this is the entity that is, again, engaging in feckless efforts. And this really, at the end of the day, this entity is obsessed with me. And this is the entity that failed in what they sought to do. That's what these demons in the scrubs are obsessing over, because this entity intended to criminally defame me. All right, and that's also why the medical field is taking such a hard hit. I'm prosecuting it as I prosecute the system. That's the system right there. And no one will ever again be criminally defamed by a vagina monitoring, demon-possessed psychopath that's trying to hide it in a scrub suit. They'll be removed from that field altogether. All right, and there will also be what are red flags in the system to make sure not even their kids and no one related to them will be permitted into the medical field. All right, that's what's happening there.
The entities engaging in the pattern of conduct, and they are in fact the ones that are mentally ill, engaging in what are microaggressive ways of harming people, and if not able to physically harm them, harming their reputation by literally making up information, just like sitting around laughing hysterically under a fake sun when your whole purpose in being there is obsessively stalking that person. Okay, that's what is dressing up in scrubs and stalking in a library. And it's all about me. That's why the fake sun is here. All right, you are mentally ill regardless of your uniform, Satan. Welcome to your prosecution. It is currently 3:14 p.m. and this is P.O.C. Alrighty, this is at the People of the State facilitative venue that came out engaging in what is harassment, where she's stalking with UPS. I already said she's going to prison. She is indeed going to prison. And that's also why these homosexuals chose to stalk me at their house, right in front of their house. This is 1360 Euclid Avenue, under the fake sun, okay, at 5:42 p.m. 8MDN 154 is also stalking. The entities engaging in this, again, this is the entity that's obsessive and just stalking because they are looking for attention. They're scared to die. I'm going to be honest with you. They're scared that they're dying. They're scared that they are going to suffer the consequences of the things that they've done to me, and they are, both in the spiritual realm and here on earth. They're going to prison. They're being outed as homosexuals. They're being prosecuted as domestic terrorists, and they don't even know how that's going to turn out because no one has ever prosecuted for terrorizing an American citizen levying war. So that's what's behind the entity that's gang stalking, because they've already lost. This is the fake sun that's over me while I'm walking toward. Everybody in the city of Ontario is incriminated by that. Everything. So this is an entity that's suicidal, and they're desperate for attention from me. So I just want to put that out. And they know very well that the people are documented. She's gang stalking me, coming out with her fake lashes and her hairnet on in the morning, stalking with UPS. That's UPS, that's gang stalking as well with the people that say, and it's not just this house, it's the entire city of Ontario. They're all going to be under martial law. This demon's not focused on watering her bushes. They're stalking. But that's the P.O.C. The suicidal, the homosexuals, the mentally ill are engaged in stalking and targeting me by flying over the top of my head. So you're remembering the demons that are laughing hysterically at the Ovid Family Community Library, because those group of demons are all going to prison. The employees inside of the Ovid Family Community Library, they're going to federal prison. This is the P.O.C. Alrighty? This is the entity that has the fake sun over me at what is Hawthorne and Euclid Avenue. That's the pattern of conduct. This is the entity that is providing what is criminal activity on behalf of a population, and literally the names, the identity, the location is going to serve for prosecuting the corporate entity, prosecuting the people of the state. You're being prosecuted right here. You can look to whoever you want, and you can not address me. You're being federally prosecuted. That's the P.O.C. This is going to be martial law. All right, the U.S. military has shown that they are obsessed with me and that I am the one that is in fact being targeted. That is the only thing that they have accomplished, and that's a loss, because they were supposed to do the exact opposite. Okay, that's the pattern of conduct. It's currently 5:44 p.m. P.O.C. All right, I just want you to see how pathetic these demons are. They're very, very pathetic. This is literally the U.S. government that is obsessed with me. Okay, I'm not paying them. They're going to pay me for obsessively stalking me, and the conduct has turned into they are begging me for attention, and I'm supposed to be horrified by them stalking me. The entity has already been convicted. This is an entity that's engaging in what is obsessively monitoring me and stalking me, and they are literally begging me to react, to care, to be bothered, to be affected. That's why they are flying over me again. I'm only capturing video because the homosexuals that will not be in law enforcement, they will not be in the military, they will not be roaming free on the streets, they will not be remaining in the United States, etc., and they will also not be maintaining any amount of money and property. Everything that they have and stole is coming to me. That's why I'm capturing video. The entity is engaged in what is obsessively stalking. This is the ridiculous admissions provided to me regarding the mental illness, because it's mental illness. They're mentally ill. That's the fake moon. Okay? These are indeed the homosexuals that are obsessing over me, that are stalking in commercial planes and helicopters, following me all around. Okay? This is the entity. This is how the mentally ill behave when they are having a widely publicized, progressive, psychological breakdown. Okay? This is P.O.C.
The entity engaged in what is stalking somebody that could care less, okay? I already beat Satan, and now these demons are tormenting the demons that are stalking me, and they don't know what to do with themselves. It's really pathetic, but they're going to pay me for this, and that's why I'm capturing this video. They're going to be in court, and there is not going to be a genuine question regarding how do you plead. They have already admitted to guilt, and you are all witnessing that, and this is additional video speaking to the vagina monitors that are violent sex offenders, and they are admitted terrorists who are obsessively stalking someone who could care less. I'm taking all their money, and they're going to prison. This is P.O.C. They never even had money. These are brokies. These are thieves, rapists, and murderers. And I've embarrassed them, and I'm also going to make sure that they never see never see the light of day when they get locked up. P.O.C. It's currently 10:26 p.m.